sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. Glad that you're with us this afternoon here on 97.1 FM Talk. A reminder, stream us on your Odyssey app when you get back to the office. I know you're driving around right now getting lunch. The Odyssey app. You can listen to 97.1 all day. Sounds fun, right? They're supposed to vote later today on the War Powers Act, and we're going to go through and prep ourselves to figure out timing of that. I think it's supposed to happen at 3 o'clock, so we'll have to hand it off to Mark Reardon in order to hear what happens there. But we got Chad Pergram joining us at 12:18, and there's quite a bit to discuss with Chad Pergram. So stick around for that. He'll be with us in about 13 minutes from right now, right here on the Annie Fry Show. Last night was a few primaries across the country, including Texas, where there were some really, really interesting primaries taking place. Now, why were they interesting on the Republican side and the Democrat side? Well, because they redistricted in Texas. Remember when we saw J.B. Pritzker on Stephen Colbert, and Stephen Colbert was questioning the districting of the state of Illinois, specifically my district, the 13th district that looks like a snake, or what I say is the finger. It's like J.B. Pritzker gave us the finger in my district. That's what I think about when I see that little Illinois 13 going right through the center of Illinois. Why are you looking at me like that?
Just an index finger.
No, it's not at all. No,
Oh.
it's either the one that everybody talks about,
The
or
one
the
next
one that
to
gives
it.
you the exam.
The thumb.
I never had that exam, but I've heard.
The exam.
I've pretty much seen jokes. Yeah,
No.
Some people know. That redistricting caused some different representatives to have to compete against one another, and there were consequences. Definitely consequences. So we're asking you on the YouTube poll for today, are you engaged in your state's primary? Most of you listening, the majority of you listening, you're Missouri folks. Quite a few of you, maybe 40%, you're Illinois folks. But we know we have other people listening from around the country, people who were here and left. I get messages from you folks who are listening in Florida because you vacated, and I'm jealous of you. And you remind me of that, but we're happy to hear you and talk to you as well. So I'm asking you, are you engaged in your state's primary, yes or no? And I want you to be honest in this, because the easy answer here is yes. The easy answer here is, yeah, of course. Like, I'm grassroots, man. That's what I do. But that might not be true. I think there are a lot of people who are very frustrated specifically with the state of Illinois and the abject failure of a Democrat supermajority and everything that they bring to the table. It's really, really disenchanting to be an Illinois voter who doesn't love the way the state is going. I'm including you moderates in it. I'm even including you centrist Democrats in it, because you're sick and tired of paying the tax burden that is bestowed upon you by the Democrats, who will never be satisfied with the amount of your hard-earned money that they take. They'll never be satisfied with it. So there's a lot of frustration, and then the primary season comes up, and there's generally a 13% turnout or something stupid for turnout for a primary. Well, it's super consequential. There was a I think it was a congressional race in North and South Carolina were last night, right? There was a congressional race there that was a 5-digit vote total, and it was 2 votes apart.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Whatever the last numbers were 75 and 73. So there'll be a recount.
Wow.
So
yeah, primary votes are important.
The value, the weight that your vote carries every time you go to vote, the more local the race, the further away it gets from president, the more weight that your vote carries. The more your opinion, when you fill in the circle or whatever it might be, the more strength your vote has in what ends up happening, especially when you come to, I know the Illinois primary is coming up on March 17th. You're hearing a lot of ads running on our station for some great candidates who are running for governor. We've got to pick a Republican governor to run against J.B. Pritzker. We've got to pick a Republican Senate candidate to run against whomever it is fills in the Democrat side with for Dick Durbin, who is retiring. Yes, that's I don't know if they would. What's the most likely? It's likely blue. Most likely safe, I guess, is what they usually determine. Is that what it is? The farthest, the most assured.
Safe.
I mean, there's no way that race isn't considered the safest of safe blue Senate seats. But we have to compete. We have to show up. We have to fight. We have to make ourselves known, and we have to make a good case. Every time we have an opportunity to run a statewide election in the state of Illinois, you have to make a cohesive, and I wish that the Illinois GOP would emphasize this. There has to be a unifying message, a very simple plan for the future, a contract with Illinois, you might say, where every time anybody from any Republican race is running statewide, congressional, local, that there is a consistency to the message. So it's like, gosh, these people have an alternative to the oppression that the Illinois Democrats are bestowing upon their taxpayers and voters. In Missouri, I hear a lot of people get frustrated with the supermajority of Republicans that doesn't get done the things that you should get done. This is the time to step in and say, this is who I want representing me in Jefferson City. You got to have the person win that primary in Illinois. If it's a Republican and there's a Republican primary and there are options, this is where you get to choose who's going to be in there, because likely the Republican's going to win. You got to participate in the primary. I want to know right now, before today, are you engaged in your state's primary? Yes or no? Last night, Jasmine Crockett got overlapped with another person running, and in this district, Jasmine Crockett got basically booted. She could run against another person who was an incumbent. She decided, you know what, I think I'm ready for something bigger. Everybody's telling her in her head that she is ready for something that is bigger and better than the House of Representatives. It's time for Jasmine Crockett to go to the Senate. Well, that didn't go
All Red
well.
has already stated, we encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it. So I am asking you, I am begging you to make sure that you go ahead and figure out where it is that you are supposed to vote, stand in line, wait in line.
Okay, so you got Jasmine Crockett mid-evening last night begging for some election integrity. She just is like, it's time in this country that we actually pay attention to what's going on. There's cheating happening in our elections. Now, why does it always have to be when they are on the losing side that we care about the cheating? So you could tell Jazzy, what does Jesse call her? Jazzy something?
I don't know.
He's got a nickname for everybody. She was starting to feel it. You could tell she was getting a little nervous. The numbers weren't coming in the counties where they needed to come in for her. And then the evening went on, and she had to deliver this speech. Very sad speech.
So that's my news, is that we're not going to have election results tonight, in my opinion, based upon what specifically is taking place in Dallas County.
Can we have a, what do you call it, convention of the states?
Yes. The answer is yes already. Convention
of the states. But the top issue is that you cannot run for the Senate if you talk like this. You can't do it. Disqualified.
49 states would vote yes. California would vote no.
As Annie Fry will be the czar of Fry. And I will have a trapdoor, and as soon as you start talking like this, gone! I can't handle it.
49 states say yes.
49 states say yes. Then that's passed.
Yeah.
That's
a law now.
Make it a new amendment. Put that sucker in the Constitution. Yeah. Make that amendment 0.5 so that it goes before the First Amendment. So it's like you can speak freely, but not if you speak like this. I just unelected myself from anything I ever run for.
Fortunately, this is what Republicans like to do.
Beat you. Yes, we like to beat you.
And so they specifically targeted Dallas County, and I think we all know why. So I want you to enjoy yourselves, but I won't be back tonight because I have no idea of when we're going to get results, and I fully anticipate it won't be until tomorrow. So I love y'all too. Thank you so very much for being here. Love you down. I love you down, Dallas.
Okay. She lost.
Did she say that's what Republicans like to do?
Well, there's suggestions. There was a lot of people saying that they wanted Republicans to cross over and pull Democrat ballots, which is stupid because they had a Cornyn-Paxton race for the Senate where Republicans needed to weigh in. But I never heard anybody ever say that if you were going to pull a Democrat ballot, that you weren't supposed to vote for Jasmine
You
Crockett.
would be voting for her.
Yes. I think there was some suggestion that at some of the polling places, there was confusion on some of the polling places. Districts are different now. Okay. So that's going to happen. Maybe some polling places are different. But it's just important for everybody to know that Jasmine Crockett did not lose her race. The Republicans took it from her.
In the Democrat primary.
And then I have a clip here somewhere, but I can't find it. And she was talking about how we should pass the SAVE Act. What? Brad, where'd you put that?
What?
SAVE Act. She said, pass the SAVE Act, Thune. Get on it. Mm-hmm. That was going to be her first act as senator. It's too bad we missed out on this.
Oh, man. I would have crossed over and voted for her if I lived in Texas also.
Just pretend you do.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Texas is probably the only place you can't.
Until they pass the SAVE Act, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, 100%. All right. Well, we've got Chad Pergram coming up at noon 18 in just a few minutes. And we're going to talk about there have been hearings. Minnesota fraud delegation was in front of the committees today, the oversight committees with the Attorney General Ellison and the Governor Walz. We have a vote coming up on the War Powers resolution that appears to matter to people in Congress now in ways that it didn't before. Just because people are being hypocritical about it doesn't mean that you should get it right if you can get it right. So what's right? Chad Pergram will give us the ins and outs, the X's and O's of all of that in just a minute. And the SAVE Act. Where is that going? That's the one that we all want to know about, right? Go to the Annie Fry YouTube channel and vote. Are you engaged in your state's primary? Yes or no? Here's where we're asking for your input. Illinois' primary is coming up in March 17th, but you can go vote right now at lunch. Voting is open because we're Illinois and we're a little loosey-goosey on the old what we got to do to vote rules. Missouri, yours is in August. If you have a candidate that you really like, I want you to come onto the Annie Fry YouTube channel, stump for your candidate there in a primary, and text us at 314-241-9797. Illinois, you're right around the corner, and voting is open. So if you have a candidate that you want to support, 314-241-9797. Tell us who you're supporting and why. Chad Pergram next. Air Comfort Service online at aircomfortservice.com. Quick phone number 314-513-0091. That's 314-513-0091. 24/7 service for your HVAC system is an important asset to know that you have with Air Comfort Service. So when I tell you that phone number, I encourage you to put it in your phone. Just put it as Air Comfort Service, because when that situation arises where you need to call somebody, you're going to be between a rock and a hard place, because you're going to need that HVAC system working again, especially if it's for taking care of mom and dad, maybe a house that the kids are living in, that you own. You probably are going to want to make that phone call immediately, knowing that you can trust the people on the other end of that. That is 100% customer myself, Air Comfort Service. Wonderful people, experts in their field, and they can help you with that 24/7 service with a smile on their face. 314-513-0091. That's 314-513-0091, online at aircomfortservice.com.
Setting goals for your retirement is one thing, but knowing how to achieve those goals is another. For tips on building a better nest egg, listen to the All Financial Hour with Steve All.
Let's sit down and talk about your questions, because I think that's the most important thing that it is out there. It's what questions do you have?
Saturday mornings at 6 or Saturday afternoon at 4, right here on 97.1 FM Talk.
According to MasterCard, nearly half of small businesses have been a victim of a cyber attack. As cybercrime escalates, ThrottleNet is calling on businesses to strengthen their security posture by taking a free online IT security audit right from your desk. This 3-minute online assessment provides an immediate score to see security gaps and vulnerabilities in your network. For 26 years, ThrottleNet has supported your business IT everything right here in St. Louis. In fact, no client of ThrottleNet has ever paid a ransom. So visit throttlenet.com/971 to take the free assessment today.
When it comes to lighting, Graybar goes beyond parts and products. We help contractors turn plans into smart designs, manage kitting and deliverables, and navigate local codes so you can stay on time and on budget. Smart, scalable, job site ready. That's not just lighting. That's like kicking your project into Graybar mode. Yep, Graybar does that.
Dreaming of college but worried about the cost? The Together Foundation is here to help. The Together Foundation is awarding 5 $1,500 scholarships to St. Louis area students who are ready to take the next step toward their future. Applying is simple, but time is limited, as applications will be accepted through March 31st. Learn more or apply at togethercu.org/scholarship. That's togethercu.org/scholarship. This community message has been brought to you by Together Credit Union.
This is the Annie Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Yeah, as far as I know, I think I would be the only Democrat to vote against that, and I just don't understand where I'm at. So, as far as I know, every single senator says we must never allow Iran to acquire a nuclear facility and a weapon. And I think we all agree on that. Why can't you just acknowledge, hey, that's really happened now? Then now they can't acquire those anymore. Why can't we just acknowledge that was a good thing and that the world's better now and more safe after what's happened? So if that requires me as a Democrat to just condemn those kinds of things, I think we've all been saying that we want to make sure that they can never make Iranian a nuclear power.
Senator Fetterman on with Fox News talking about essentially the powers that the president has to do what he did in Iran this past weekend. And we know that there's a war powers vote today and tomorrow. We want to go to the expert who can give us the details on what's going to happen, why it needs to happen, and maybe how it might go. Chad Pergram joins us once again, senior congressional correspondent for Fox News on X at Chad Pergram, a must follow with all the news going on. Welcome back to the show, Chad. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Can you give us the setup, the schedule here for this war powers vote? What is a war powers vote, first and foremost?
Well, war powers is where Congress asserts its power to declare war. It says in Article 1, Section 8 that it is up to Congress to declare war. And what happened, and you started to have this in the post-World War II period, where you found the United States getting involved in conflicts and not declaring war. We've only done that about 10, 11 times, and the last one was against Romania in World War II. The history on this, without getting too deep into the weeds, was there was a situation in Asia in the 60s called the Gulf of Tonkin incident. And so Congress passed something called the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, which was basically the authorization to commit military troops in what became the Vietnam War. So you've had authorizations approved like this, certainly after 9/11, certainly for the first Gulf War to go into Iraq the second time. We call these AUMFs, authorizations for use of military force. But what happened, and the reason I come back to the Gulf of Tonkin incident, is because Congress thought that there had been mission creep, and the idea that it didn't really have control over what was going on when the executive branch was executing, its war powers. Again, the president is commander in chief. There's tension in the Constitution if you look at the powers extended to the president and what I just cited for the legislative branch. And so you had a war powers resolution, which presidents of both parties since then have all said that they don't think it's constitutional necessarily, but they kind of sort of comport with it, for lack of a better term. And they have to notify the Congress within 48 hours of sending troops into harm's way. And then you have 60 to 90 days to withdraw them or continue to notify Congress what you're doing. And you would be surprised. Sometime I'm sitting here in my office at the Capitol, and I would be stunned at how many little, there would be some notice from the White House come up and about troops we have or some operation somewhere that you haven't even heard of. It goes on all the time. And so, that's where it originates from. But so this vote today, if it were to pass, would say basically, you can't have troops overseas. You have to end the hostilities right now. The problem for those supporting it is that it is subject to a veto. You have to have both the House and Senate, pass it, and they certainly don't have the votes to override a veto.
Oh, that's an interesting addition that I hadn't really considered. Chad Pergram speaking with us right now. So the Senate votes today, and the House votes tomorrow. And I guess what I hear you saying is they'd have to have a veto-proof majority in order for President Trump to not be able to say, veto, we're not doing that. Yeah, that's part of it. And really the most effective way to cut off a war ex post facto is the ultimate power that Congress wields, and that's controlling the purse strings. You certainly had this in 2006 when Democrats got control of the Congress and the public had kind of soured on the Iraq war. And so Nancy Pelosi became the speaker, and one of the things that Democrats and Pelosi campaigned on is that they were going to draw down the war in Iraq. And I use that phrase specifically, draw it down, because they knew they just couldn't yank the money right away. And then you have people in theater and operations in theater, and you leave everybody in the lurch. And so it took them a couple of years to do this drawdown, which took a period of time to do that. She said, we're doing this responsibly. And so, I think it would be a very interesting situation if, just to reel back the clock a couple of weeks ago, and say the government, we were still in the middle of a government shutdown, a partial government shutdown, because they did not fund the Pentagon. And they would have said, Democrats and others saying, wait a minute, this changes the equation. We're not going to run the Pentagon on this because, we disapprove of the war. And that's where, when you get into the spending cycle this fall for the Pentagon, that's going to be interesting to watch. I literally just talked to a couple of senators, including Todd Young, a Republican from Indiana, who they signaled that, we think there's going to be what we call a supplemental spending request to restock the military after this. Now, how much that will be, we don't know. What they'll need, we don't know. I will say what has passed as prologue, that, the budget and budget deficits were pretty good in the late 1990s going into 2000. Okay. And then 9/11 happened. And that's when they started to pass supplemental bill after supplemental bill. In other words, you have 12 annual spending bills, and then you're passing a 13th or a 14th. And sometimes these things were hundreds of billions of dollars or trillions of dollars. And guess what? Guess what that does to the deficit? Yeah. Bingo. Where we are right now. Certainly. Chad Pergram speaking with us right now, the senior congressional correspondent for Fox News. I know I only have you for a couple more minutes, but I want to know about the DHS funding, because we've got warnings for potential sleeper cell activity here on the home front. People are flying. TSA, as I understand it, still is working without a paycheck. What's at stake right now? And is there any possibility that the Democrats will move a little bit to get this final part funded? We've not seen any indication that meter has moved. Wow. I think that's remarkable, frankly. Democrats are saying, we still have not seen any changes. That's why there is going to be a vote in the House tomorrow on funding the Department of Homeland Security. And there's some politics that's going on here on both sides of the aisle as it pertains to this. Democrats say, okay, they think it is good politics to hold out, at least as it pertains to what's going on with ICE. But they're going to get the Democrats on the record in this vote tomorrow. And God forbid if there is some sort of terrorist attack, they can turn that around and boomerang that around on the Democrats and say, you guys are responsible for this. By the same token, let's look at the war powers votes today in the Senate and the House. If the war starts to go south, and there is almost no way that the war in Iran does not have some impact on the midterm elections, Democrats might be able to use that against Republicans and say, you guys are on the wrong side of this. You voted to continue this war. This is something this president campaigned against, and you gave him a pass, and we're going to hold you to that. Ugh. One of these sides is going to evade good policy for better politics, and it's going to be sad. Chad Pergram, last question before we let you go. A lot of people wanting to see the SAVE Act be passed. It seems as though there are some holdouts in the Senate, people who might have supported it, but not necessarily the process of the standing filibuster or removing the filibuster. What's the latest you know about that? Dead in the water?
How long is your show?
I'm on Chad. I'll let you talk until you're done talking. I was told 30, but you go.
Because we could do an entire show on this. Here is the thing you need to watch for. You are absolutely right that there is a majority support, or right at the edge of it, among Republicans in the Senate who are for the SAVE Act. That would require the proof of citizenship to vote. Now, you have the idea in the Senate that you can't put that on the floor because you have to get past a filibuster, 60 votes. So John Thune, the Senate Majority Leader, has said there's no appetite to change the filibuster rule in the Senate. There's no appetite to change it specifically for this issue. They think that goes down a slippery slope. Senators of both parties, hold that prerogative dearly to filibuster because they don't know when their ox is being gored and they need to use that. So that's why there is a reluctance. So you've had conservative senators like Ted Cruz, like Mike Lee of Utah, and say, okay, let's just not have them, filibuster in the shadows. Let's make them come out and speak on the floor. Okay. And according to the rules is that you can only speak twice per day. And eventually what you would do is you would run out of exhaustion and you have to have a vote. Okay. There are some nuances to that. And I'm going to take your audience down in the weeds. And there are about 4 people on the planet who will have heard what I'm going to explain right now.
Let's go. Chad Pergram. Take us there.
So here's the key. You keep hearing this business that they can only speak twice a day. Not true. You can only speak twice a day per question on the floor. So in other words, is it the motion to proceed? Is there suddenly an amendment in play? There's something in the Senate called an amendment tree, which you can have, imagine the bill as being the trunk of the tree, and then you have a branch, that's amendment number 1, and then you have a second amendment to that, that's a sprig. So you could speak twice on each of those, plus the trunk. So that's 6 speeches per senator per question on the floor. Okay, that's the first thing. Now, here's the other thing. The term that you have not heard yet about, I've been seeing ads running against this and trying to explain some of this, and what is being left out is the question about how long a legislative day is. At the end of each Senate session, the Senate usually adjourns. It does not recess. If the Senate were to extend the legislative day, not a calendar day, but in other words, where Tuesday becomes Wednesday, and now Wednesday becomes Thursday. Okay, those are days of the week. But let's say we're in Wednesday right now. If the Senate were to recess, the legislative day of Wednesday continues tomorrow. And then it could potentially continue to Friday if you're recessing and not adjourning. That's a very important parliamentary distinction.
Do the Democrats have any control over that? Is the majority the one who controls that?
It is up to the majority. You could also object. You could even have Mike Lee or somebody potentially object to this. What I'm telling you is the idea that the Senate is adjourning and not extending this legislative day because that dictates how long you can speak and all that type of thing. The onus on that is mostly on the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune.
Who doesn't seem to be doing cartwheels over the idea of getting into this.
And again, in his defense, he's got to manage a lot of other issues. You might have, if you go down this rabbit hole of trying to deal with the SAVE Act, you are going to gum up the floor for weeks and months and not do a single nomination, another bill, anything on Iran, not a supplemental bill. You're just focused on that one issue. Now, to be fair, there are some conservatives who think it's worth that. But that would take up every cubic centimeter of floor time in the Senate morning, noon, and night, 24/7.
If the SAVE Act, if this process would have already been engaged in, and all of a sudden this Iran thing happens, and they need to vote on this War Powers Act, would they have to would they have to stop filibuster? Or can you pause it? That kind of defeats defeats what you're trying to do. Yeah, because you've come off of it and now you're on to something else. That's the whole idea, that you have to stay on that issue and do it until there is exhaustion, literally. And the Democrats have to be there and speak and hold the floor however long they want to do it, and then you move that question. Is it possible? Is it feasible? Is it possible at all that in your mind that the Democrats could use the rules that would be in play with the standing filibuster to filibuster all the way to the primaries, or not the primaries, all the way to the midterms?
Again, you're talking about something that's never quite been done before. You can go back and look at the debates in the 1960s on the Civil Rights Act, where they did commit, weeks on end about this. Again, it's a little hard to game that out. It's only early March, so that's a long way. But, here's the other thing about the SAVE Act. Let's say they were to pass it and President Trump were to sign it into law. Well, guess what? I can't imagine that there's not an immediate court case and an injunction somewhere, and probably something goes to the Supreme Court that says we can't put this into effect, even if this is the law of the land, this fast for this election. Because you have 50 states that under the Constitution, with some, advice, and guidance by the federal government that says it's up to, the Constitution says elections are run by time, place, and manner in all the 50 states. And Alaska says one thing, and North Dakota says something else, and then Missouri says something else. And so suddenly all these states say, we can't magically comply with this. I mean, you have to have these things worked out by probably absolutely August at the latest.
Sure.
That's not much time.
Oof. Worth a shot. That's my thought. But very, very complicated. More complicated.
And I could continue all afternoon on this if you want to hear about the standing filibuster, legislative days, the amendment tree.
We'll call you back in an hour.
All day.
You have your hands full, and we're so grateful for your time here. We'll have you back, and it's going to continue to be an issue, and you're the best person to talk to about it, Chad Pergram. Thanks for the time
My
today.
pleasure.
Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye-bye. You could tell. He's like, can I roll my sleeves up for this one? Please do.
Absolutely, please do.
Please
because
do.
This is the stuff that the headlines don't show.
Well, you can't tweet that.
Right.
What he just said, you can't tweet it. Now, I still want to see it. Even if it were passed and going to be litigated, then I still think the sooner you do it, the better, because that's going to happen anyway. And I would want that. It's hugely consequential if it could be done by the midterm. Sounds like, in his opinion, that it would almost not be reasonable, especially if you add in the standing filibuster. But I would want the standing filibuster to be put in now so that they couldn't go, gosh, we got to figure out how to drag this out to the midterms and show some resolve.
Right.
That would be playing with fire for the Democrats to do that. Would that motivate Republicans to show up and make sure that they didn't get the majority? Or would that say, no, these are Democrats who want to fight, so let's give them a few more Democrats in the Senate so that they have the majority? I don't know. I'm not smart enough to do that. But I still know that the end game of making sure that you have to prove that you're a citizen, you have to be a citizen in order to vote. Proving it is a way to verify that the correct people are voting. I am for it. I think it should happen. And if it's complicated, that doesn't mean we should take a pass on it.
Exactly.
So, let's take a quick break. Are you engaged in your state's primary, yes or no? Let us know in the Anti-Fry YouTube live chat poll. You can text us who you're supporting in your state's primary. You got to make sure you tell us, like, I'm for Brian Wiggins for Collinsville mayor.
I did not say that.
You're not for him?
I'm not running for mayor.
Kind of sketchy. Yeah, absolutely. 314-241-9797 if you want to give us your feedback there. And we're going to dip into the White House press conference when we come back. Don't go away. Home Shield Foundation Repair.com, repairs with an S.com. Matt Hayes is excited to meet you, and you need somebody reliable right now. That rain's been coming down, and you know where the problem is. You know what you've been dealing with. You've kind of like maintained that space. You've moved the things out of that corner in your basement because that's the corner of your basement that gets wet. That is not a solution. That's a Band-Aid, and you have a bigger problem than a Band-Aid can fix. Matt Hayes has a solution. He can come look at your basement. He can assess the damage that's been done. He can prevent the damage that will be done if you don't do anything with it. And when he waterproofs your basement with his decades of expertise in this area, he puts a lifetime warranty on it, so you know you're getting the goods when you work with Home Shield Foundation Repair. 314-271-9900. That's 314-271-9900. HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com.
There's one thing I really want to say to Donald Trump. If you come for my people, you come through me.
That was Pritzker's challenge to President Trump. But who are Pritzker's people? They're the more than 1,700 illegal alien predators he helped escape from ICE. They're the illegal aliens whose health care, rent, and college tuition you pay for. You can't afford to stay because Pritzker makes you pay for his people. Well, I have a message for you, Governor. I'll be coming for you and going through you. Your days and the days of sanctuary living for your people are over. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
Vote for Ted Dabrowski on March 17th.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
The YouTube live chat poll is, are you engaged in your state's primary? It is a yes or no question, but we are asking you to weigh in with how, and of course, we want you to make sure that you're voting in the primary as well. Let us know, and we will be. What's that?
And the poll. It's like practice.
Yeah, and vote in the poll. It's practice.
Get all of your YouTube accounts. Vote as many times as you can.
It is Illinois we're talking about. 12:38. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
JerryKelly.com. Built on backbone, not buzzwords. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
All right, we're going to dip in here to the Carolyn Leavitt press conference. Here's a question. Do you want to hear what she says from the beginning? The addressing of the war? Like, what is the White House statement, or do you want to go straight to questions?
Straight to questions.
Straight to questions? Okay. Yeah. Well, let me just going fast forward. That's what it sounds like. Okay. Let's listen in and hear what she has to say.
Forfeit their enrichment capacity once and for all. But Iran rejected. They accepted none of these generous and unprecedented offers by the United States. Simply put, they refused to say yes to peace. And their refusal made clear that their number one priority was building a nuclear weapon with which to threaten the United States of America. Again, the country they have been chanting death to for nearly 5 decades. Let me state this again clearly. Iran rejected the path of peace because the terrorists in charge of this regime wanted to build nuclear weapons to use against Americans and our allies. President Trump made the determination, a courageous determination and decision, that the path the United States was on with Iran had only one outcome: massive death and destruction at the hands of a nuclear-armed terroristic regime. That path of death and destruction and threats against the American people have ended with Operation Epic Fury. Operation Epic Fury has forged a new path that will better ensure the security of the United States and our people. The terrorists made a bet that President Trump would be like many of his predecessors, that he would just talk and he would refuse to enforce his clear red lines. But that has proven to be a catastrophic error in judgment. When President Trump makes a threat, and I have reiterated that threat many times from this podium to all of you over the past year, President Trump does not bluff. The president's words are backed up by the mightiest warriors in the world who possess the most sophisticated capabilities this world has ever known. 49 and counting of the most senior Iranian regime leaders, including the supreme leader, have already been wiped off the face of the earth. Make no mistake, killing these brutal terrorists is good for America and makes the world a much safer place. I want to also extend our prayers and condolences to the families of the 6 U.S. military service members who have been lost in Operation Epic Fury. These heroes represent the very best among us. They laid down their lives in defense of our country, and we will never forget their legacy or their sacrifice. As the president said, we grieve for these American patriots and their families as we continue the righteous mission for which they gave their lives. President Trump intends to attend the dignified transfer of these American heroes to stand in grief alongside their families. I understand the Department of War is working on scheduling this transfer, and we will provide updates at the appropriate time. Finally, the Trump administration is also doing everything within our power to protect Americans in harm's way. Since the launch of Operation Epic Fury, more than 17,500 Americans have safely returned home from the Middle East, with over 8,500 American citizens returning home to the United States just yesterday alone. If you are a U.S. citizen in the Middle East looking to return to the United States, the Secretary of State asks that you please register with the State Department at step.state.gov. The State Department will identify where you are and provide travel options directly to you. The administration is already rapidly chartering flights free of charge and booking commercial options, which we expect to become increasingly available as time goes on and the success of this mission further comes to fruition. I know the President and Secretary of State Rubio have been in touch as well with our allies in the region directly about this problem, making it clear that it is a priority of the United States of America to bring every American home. The Trump administration will not rest until every American is home safely and until the terrorist threat from Iran has been completely destroyed. With that, I'll take your questions. Eric, why don't you kick us off today? Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be here. As you mentioned, Iran's regime, its leadership has largely been decimated. Do we have a sense right now of who is actually calling the shots in Iran? And we're also hearing reports that the Supreme Leader's son may be named his successor. Do you have any more information about that? I just had a quick follow-up as well.
Sure. We've seen those reports as well, of course, and this is something that our intelligence agencies are closely monitoring and looking at. The truth is, we'll have to wait and see. The president has said repeatedly that the objectives of Operation Epic Fury are the 4 military objectives that I laid out for you previously: to destroy Iran's navy, to destroy their ballistic missile capacity, to ensure their proxies in the region can no longer harm Americans, and to also ensure that they can never obtain a nuclear weapon. As for what comes next for Iran, the president has said, of course, it's a good thing for the United States to want freedom for the Iranian people, and ultimately we hope that freedom rests in their hands.
Caroline, we see the Arab and Muslim nations coming under fire as well. President Trump's vision for the region has been to bring the Arab and Muslim nations to the table together, Abraham Accords, obviously, with Israel. If this regime topples, could we see a new day in the region and really a new Middle East come out of this when the dust settles?
Well, though the greatest deterrent to true and long-lasting peace in the Middle East has always been the rogue Iranian terrorist regime. And our Arab and Gulf partners in the nation admit that, as well as, of course, our close friend and ally Israel. We have seen all of the Arab partners in the region come together during this time on the phone with President Trump, many of them commending him for this bold and brave action to protect American troops and our bases in the region that are housed in many of these Arab and Gulf states. And I know that many of these regional partners are contributing their air defense capabilities as well: Jordan, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and the president continues to be engaged with all of them. Welcome. Garrett.
Also have two, if you'll humor me. Axios, I think, was the first to report this morning this phone call between the president and Prime Minister Netanyahu, saying that Netanyahu had given the U.S. this information about where the Ayatollah would be and that he'd be with his deputies on Saturday. How important was that information in the president making the decision to strike where and when he did?
I think it was important with respect to the timeline, but I think the president, prior to that phone call, had a good feeling that the Iranian regime was going to strike the United States assets and our personnel in the region. And the president was faced with a choice. Does the United States of America use our military and our capabilities to strike first, to take out this threat that has been threatening our country and our people for 47 years, or is he going to, as commander-in-chief, sit back and watch as the rogue Iranian regime attacks our people in the region? That's obviously an unacceptable decision. For the second choice there is unacceptable to the president, which is why he made this decision. As for where the Ayatollah was going to be, that obviously had an impact on the timeline of the operation, but not quite the president's decision in its entirety.
And then on the way the public is viewing this, we were sitting here last week. I asked you if the president was going to make this a big part of the State of the Union, if he felt like he had to sell the possibility that he'd do strikes like this. We're now 5 days on. He hasn't done kind of the traditional speech to the nation part of it. Does the president believe the country supports the actions that he's taken so far in Iran?
I think he does, and I think the president knows the country is smart enough to read past many of the fake news headlines produced by people in this room that this action was unjustifiable. Again, this is a rogue terrorist regime that has been threatening the United States, our allies, and our people for 47 years. And the American people are smart enough to know that. And they've also been smart enough to listen to the president himself, not just over the past year in this second term, but during his first term as president, and also for the past 40 years of his life. This is a president who has been remarkably consistent on this issue, that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. And the president tried peace through diplomacy, exhaustively and extensively. He and his team gave it their best go, and the president ultimately came to the determination that peace was not a pursuable path. The Iranian regime, they want death, they want destruction, they want to kill Americans, and that's unacceptable to this president. It's intolerable to him as commander-in-chief. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Obviously seen the update from the State Department on the 17,500 Americans that have already come back, including some 8,000 just yesterday. There are still 6,000 that are looking to get out, as I understand it. And just in the context of what you just told Garrett about the president's decision on a timeline, if he had decided to do this strike before receiving, the specific intelligence about the meeting on Saturday, should there have been more done in advance of the strikes to try to get those Americans in the region resources and information to get home before day 3 of the war?
There was many signs put out by the State Department, and I wish that everyone in this room would report on them. The Secretary of State issued level 4 travel advisories dating back to January for many of these countries in the region. On January 14th, the U.S. mission to Saudi Arabia advised personnel and Americans to exercise increased caution and limit non-essential travel to any military installations. On February 11th, the U.S. Department of State Consular Affairs shared a list of countries with level 4 do not travel advisories. You can't be much more clear than that. Do not travel to these following countries. On February 23rd, the U.S. Embassy in Lebanon ordered non-emergency government personnel and family members to leave Lebanon due to safety risks, and we helped them do that. On March 2nd, the State Department urged U.S. citizens to depart Lebanon immediately. With respect to Iran, on February 27th, the Secretary designated Iran as a state of sponsor of wrongful detention and stated no American should travel to Iran for any reason. And again, on February 27th, the U.S. ambassador to Israel warned Americans to leave Iran, and they provided travel advisory alerts through the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem. So the State Department was all hands on deck on advising extreme caution and do not travel alerts to Americans in the region. With respect to the Americans who are still in the region now, again, the State Department is asking that they register at the website so they can directly identify you, and we are actively and rapidly working to charter flights. There is some commercial flights that are taking off intermittently from these countries, and we plan to get Americans on board as quickly as possible, again, free of charge to them. And we have some additional measures that I think will be announced in the coming days. Again, I can also reiterate from the president's perspective, this is something he's brought up directly with our allies and partners in the region, that we expect their help in getting Americans home, and we will do that, and we will not rest until every single American is returned home safely.
Thank you. And then one follow-up just on how people might be experiencing this at home. With respect to the economy and the cost of oil spiking, is there a need to start those Navy escorts in the Strait of Hormuz now to sort of blunt the impact to people? And also, because Spain is a member of the EU, does that at all put a wrinkle in the president's plan for a trade embargo with them?
With respect to Spain, I think they heard the president's message yesterday loud and clear, and it's my understanding over the past several hours they've agreed to cooperate with the U.S. military, and so I know that the U.S. military is coordinating with their counterparts in Spain, but the president expects all of our European allies, of course, to cooperate in this long sought-after mission, not just for the United States, but also for Europe, to crush the rogue Iranian regime that, again, not only threatens America, but also threatens our European allies as well. With respect to oil prices and the economy here at home, of course, this is something that Secretary Bessent, Secretary Wright, the National Economic Council of Energy, that is led by Secretary Pergram, has been long working on and well in advance. Yesterday, President Trump announced the U.S. Development Finance Corporation will provide political risk insurance at a very reasonable price for crude carriers and cargo ships operating in and around the Gulf. And as you pointed out, Jackie, the president said if necessary and when appropriate, the U.S. Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. I think it speaks to why this action was so necessary, that ultimately the energy industry is going to benefit from the president's actions with respect to Iran, because Iran will no longer be controlling the Strait of Hormuz and restricting the free flow of energy, which, as you all know, controls 20% of the world's global oil supply. Sure.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said yesterday there wasn't time to make evacuation plans because this all happened so quickly. Given how critical the president has been of the chaotic evacuation from Afghanistan by the last administration 5 years ago, why wasn't there more of a focus on evacuation plans from the Middle East that could have been at least put in place, ready to go before the strikes this weekend?
Again, I just laid out for you that there have been plans in place and that the State Department has been very clear to the American people traveling within this region not to travel to these regions. We gave notices to leave immediately the countries where these Americans were within. And unlike the previous administration, we actually have a number. We actually have identified the number of people in the region who have requested help. We are in direct contact and engagement with them. And you have to keep in mind, there's a few thousand people who have requested assistance to come home in comparison to the millions who we understand are in the region. So we will help every single American who wants to come home if they're making that request of the State Department.
Americans who called the State Department hotline as recently as last night were being told, we can't help you, you have to make your own plans.
Well, the line was updated, and I expect every single person in this room to report on that accurately so that information can be relayed appropriately to your audiences and to the American people. I think as journalists, you all have a responsibility to let them know that the line has been updated accordingly with the proper guidance, because I saw many people in this room very quick to do selfie videos with the line yesterday, but not so quick to report on the corrected message today. So that is something the administration quickly worked to address, and we have fixed that problem. However, we're also pointing to people to the website, again, to register so that we know exactly where you are. So when there are commercial flights moving into that area, when there are chartered flights moving into that area, we can get Americans on planes as quickly as possible.
So Carolyn Levitt from the White House there giving the press conference, answering quite a few questions, trying to clear the record. I know that the effort right now across the entire, east, what, west, that's like where the west meets the east, because it's moving into Europe and everything. Some missiles coming from Iran that are hitting, they're saying indiscriminate. I wonder, and Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg will be with us at 1:30, so in 35 minutes from right now. Very excited to speak with General Keith Kellogg again about this particular issue. I don't know if Iran is doing any of this with rhyme or reason. Are they just, I'm just imagining like the cartoons, lighting fuses and off they go. They go where they land where they go. Are they trying to pull people into a greater war? Like if we're going down, we're taking the whole thing down with us, and maybe World War III starts or whatever it might be. The president's remarks yesterday about Spain and Spain's lack of participation in any sort of partnership, Spain would certainly, you would assume, be on the side of, if they were pulled into some sort of war, want to be on the side of America. But they're not acting like it. They didn't put up the 5%. President Trump said yesterday they didn't put up the 5% to fund, what is it, not the UN, the
Board of
NATO. NATO?
I was going to say Board of Peace, but I didn't know.
No, it was way before that. And he goes, not only did they not put up the 5% that everybody else did, they don't even pay their 2%. So there's just a shaking of the whole system that exists right now. To me, it's just like President Trump has got his arms wrapped around the whole thing, and he's shaking it. And whatever falls loose, whatever isn't strong, whatever is flimsy, it's falling to the bottom. It's all going to go to the same place. But everybody who's holding tight and holding fast, I feel as though this might be the remaking of the world power structure, the reaffirming of it, because maybe people were looking at the United States of America like, I don't really know if that's the USA that we remember from the first half of the 20th century. Now I think people are probably thinking a little bit different. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg will answer that question, like, is this a recalibration of the whole kit and caboodle at 1:30? I'll try to come up with a better phrase than that when I'm speaking to the Lieutenant General. Deroy Murdock on the Annie Frey Show next. have rodents? That's a terrible question to ask yourself. You're going, Annie, God, I hope I don't have rodents. Well, then one day you're going to find the evidence of them in your home and you're going to go, oh my gosh, I need to get rid of this. All of them, wherever they might be. Don't want to know where they are or how many they are, but I do want them gone. And that's when you call Point Pest Control, Point with an E, pointpestcontrol.com. I would even encourage you to consider scooping those rodents. And what I mean by that is beating them to the punch and becoming a premium service plan subscriber like I am. It's the best bill that I pay every quarter to ensure that I don't have pests in our house. It's really important. Rodents are gross. They're disgusting. And as soon as you realize that they've somehow infiltrated your home, which they are apt to do in March, you need them gone. So what are you going to do? Call somebody who is an expert. Point Pest Control is servicing homes, residents, commercial businesses all across the bi-state area. How about yours as well? Mention Annie. Save an extra 10% discount on the top of their best special that they have going. 636-798-0023, pointpestcontrol.com.
I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. That's how President Trump is being described by White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, accusing past leaders of appeasement and empty statements on Iran.
47 years of tolerating and enabling the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism are over. Iran's murderous terrorist leaders are paying for their crimes against America, and they are paying in blood.
She also denies that regime change is the goal, listing several military objectives, including destroying Iran's naval capability, missile and drone infrastructure, and pathway to nuclear weapons. Both the U.S. and Israel now asserting control of the skies in Iran after decimating the country's air defenses.
U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth briefed reporters at the Pentagon.
Iranian leaders looking up and seeing only U.S. and Israeli air power.
And the U.S. now says it sank an Iranian naval warship operating in the Indian Ocean using a torpedo fired by a U.S. submarine. That's the first time using such a tactic since World War II.
Fox's Evan Brown. Hegseth also says the leader of an Iranian unit accused of plotting to assassinate President Trump has been killed. Caroline Leavitt just announcing the president will attend a dignified transfer ceremony for 6 U.S. service members who've been killed. The State Department has evacuation flights and buses underway for Americans trying to leave the Middle East.
There are over a dozen American embassies in the Middle East that have been forced to physically closed down due to the threat from Iranian militias. But this morning, at least one, possibly two of these embassies and consular outposts are now being forced to actually cease operations completely. That means no passports, no visas for Americans overseas.
Fox's Jillian Turner. The State Department says more than 17,000 Americans have been able to leave since Operation Epic Fury began. America is listening to Fox News.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion. That's billion with a B. Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words Micro. That's pound 250, Micro.
It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number, 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS. Visit LifeLock.com for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio. I'm not
America's sweetheart. This is the Annie Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
Well, we just spoke in the first hour there with Chad Pergram talking a lot about the war powers vote that's going to be taking place here this afternoon in the Senate and tomorrow in the House. I do think it's a very under-discussed story right now that they don't have the Department of Homeland Security funded, that the Democrats are obstructing that right now.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that needs to be talked about more because of everything going on in the world and the fact that now is also a time where you could pressure Democrats to get on board with it like they should.
So the senator from Pennsylvania, the one that we couldn't believe won and then now is the most common sense Democrat senator in the lot of them, Fetterman, he is very outspoken. You know, I always think like, gosh, he just must love being on Fox News. But I've seen him going on some other shows too, which is, I think it was CNN that I maybe saw him on. And he's very consistently towing the line of like, this is what I think. And he frequently says, it doesn't matter which outlet he's on. It's not like he positions himself one way or the other because he's on Fox News or whatever. It's not like he's playing to some sort of base, but he just speaks in a way that everybody can kind of lean into.
The top 55 of them were killed, and I think they just blew up 80 of the randoms mullahs, too. Which, I mean, that was pretty great, actually. So, all right.
And scene. Then he just walks away. So, you know, the war is not, Lindsey Graham walks in and he's like, okay, I got to get in on this. I got a great Congressman Burchett clip to play for you in a little bit here. But you know, if these Democrats, they wake up and they get a list of, you know, their talking points for the day is what did Donald Trump do yesterday? Because that tells you what they're against today. It's without question, except for John Fetterman, who does seem to be principled. And I just think it's a wild twist of irony that we're this far in. You never would have believed when John Fetterman won his race that we'd be looking at him as a purveyor of common sense in the United States Senate. Let's get to our friend Deroy Murdock, nationally syndicated columnist, Project 21 ambassador, and Fox News contributor. Deroy Murdock, quite a week since we have spoken last. It never slows down.
When will we get a quiet week, Annie? We're still waiting for that to happen.
I don't know. I always say I'll sleep when I'm dead. I hope I get a little bit of rest then. You know, you get to see, like the rest of us, these attacks, the American-Israel hand-in-hand attacks against Iran. And it does look like it's a Republican-Democrat issue once again when we look and see how the Senate and the House are going to react to it.
Well, you'd think we'd all be united on this one. I mean, it's not like Trump and the Republicans decided, hey, let's go beat up on Switzerland. This is the Iranian regime, the same people who held our 52, I think it was, hostages in the U.S. Embassy for 444 days back in 1979, 1980, early 81. And this is the same group of people who were very helpful and supportive of the Hamas terrorists who went in and killed 1,200 of our Israeli friends on October 7th. This is the same government that was responsible for the attack on the Marine barracks in Lebanon that killed, I think it was 250-ish U.S. soldiers back in 1982. Very ugly, nasty, disgusting folks. They're the biggest sponsors of state terrorism around the world. The sponsors and underwriters of Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthis. And there's not very much to recommend this government. So you think this incredibly efficient and swift military effort to knock out, a very pleasant surprise. I think even the Pentagon may be surprised how well it's gone. Knock out the top leadership of this bloodthirsty regime, and then I think adding almost a comic touch yesterday when they sat down to pick a new leader. As those leaders are counting the votes, the entire building blew up.
We got to start over.
The rough equivalent Electoral College trying to figure out, all right, who's the new supreme leader, and those guys will get blown up. So I imagine whoever's on the Plan C list is probably trying to take some time off and go visit his fishing house or his hunt club, or maybe just go hide in his mom's basement or something like that, rather than be picked to be the next supreme leader and get blasted 20 minutes later.
Yeah, you might want to wait that one out just a little bit. I want to give you the opportunity here to listen to Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, yesterday speaking.
Listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English. Okay, Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them. The president made the decision to go after them, take away their missiles, take away their navy, take away their drones, take away their ability to make those things so that they can never have a nuclear weapon. That's why the president made this decision. It was the right decision, and the world will be a safer place when these radical clerics no longer have access to these weapons. You see,
when you listen to Secretary of State Rubio, they're talking about religious fanatic lunatics. The left usually hates religious fanatic lunatics. I guess it's just when they're Christians.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if this were Mike Huckabee or the late Pat Robertson, they'd be foaming at their mouths. But since they're just Islamofascist religious extremists, I guess that means that's okay. But Rubio makes a very good point, which is these people, just give you an idea of how fanatical they are. This happened back in autumn 2022. There was a group of women who were protesting having to wear the hijabs and cover their faces, as you know, they had to do since Ayatollah Khomeini came in. And they arrested 20,000 people, 500 of them were killed, and I think this detail is amazing. According to the BBC, about 1,000 of these people apparently were deliberately shot in their eyes by the Iranian Republican Guard. Okay, I've never heard people deliberately getting shot in their eyes. I mean, this is just astonishing, and this is the kind of folks we're dealing with. Now, if people who are that cruel and that vicious and that sick, I don't think would hesitate if they had the opportunity, if they had enough uranium to start producing atomic bombs. According to Steve Witkoff, the diplomat or envoy who's been negotiating with these people. Apparently, when they sat down to negotiate with the Iranians, they said, hey, by the way, just so you know, we have enough 60% enriched uranium to make 11 nuclear bombs. Let's say they just made one. I don't think they just sit on it. I think they might say, hey, let's try this thing out. And even if they did not get to the level where they actually could have one of these things blow up, all you need to do is take some of this enriched uranium, get one of your agents to come into the U.S. or London or Paris or Jerusalem, wherever it is, and just put it in a container, open it up, and just on a windy day, just throw it in the air and let the wind spread the stuff around and let people inhale it, and then call up a news agency and say, by the way, why don't you go into the area near the Western Wall, or go to Times Square, or go to Disney World, go to Piccadilly Circus, and bring out a Geiger counter and see what happens. And 20 minutes later, somebody shows up with a Geiger counter and goes, oh my God, look what's just happened. And you've got total bedlam, complete chaos. And you don't need a degree in radiology or nuclear physics or anything to do that. You can do that with a metal container and some wind and the ability to throw some dust up in the air, basically, or empty it out of a window of an open hotel room or something of the sort. So this is ghastly stuff. I don't have any doubt that these people would do that sort of thing if they had the opportunity, and stopping them before they do it, I think, is the thing to do. Whereas the Democrats would say, well, let's wait until something blows up or we have an incident like that, and then let's step in and do something about it. I'd rather take care of it now before it's a problem.
What do you think about, Deroy, the Democrats standing in front of the funding of the Department of Homeland Security right now, TSA, all of these people who are tasked with keeping the homeland secure?
Well, I don't think there's any good time to do it, but this is a particularly bad time to do it. At the time you've got something like, I believe it's somewhere around 700 or so Iranian nationals who were allowed to come into the country after they crossed the border by Joe Biden. Another, I think it's about 2,000 known gotaways who we saw them running across. We think they're Iranians, and then others we may not even know. We don't know the number. We don't know the number of unknown gotaways. That's impossible to know. Those folks, let's hope they're all here just because they want to work hard. But let's say that 2% of them are here because they want to hurt us or kill us. If that's another, 5, 6, 8, 10 people who decide they want to pull off a stunt like this, or just, all you need is one or two lone rats to get, some assault rifles and decide to go stand up in the middle of a big intersection, open fire, or just take a car and just wait till pedestrians are going through a crosswalk and floor it. You don't need to do anything fancy or dramatic or anything that requires a degree from MIT or the Sorbonne or some major technical academy. You can create all sorts of mayhem with basically a car and a gas pedal, as we've seen. So I really hope this doesn't happen, and we need at the moment, at a time like this when you could have people who are either sent here to go come and kill us, or they could just decide, hey, I saw this on TV, I don't like what I see, I'm going to take it out on my own, like this guy in Austin, Texas seems to have done. You want the Department of Homeland Security to be absolutely on guard, working as hard as they can, fully focused on this to prevent any kind of an attack of that sort, or God forbid, if it does happen, be able to track down the perpetrators, find out who sent them, and make sure it doesn't happen again. And right now, because these people aren't getting paid, some of them are unable to make it to work. Some of them are at work, but they're sitting there, half focused on their duties, and I can't blame them for this, half thinking, how am I going to pay the rent? How am I going to pay for childcare? How am I going to pay for my gasoline? How am I going to pay for food? And there's no good time for this, but there's a particularly a bad time for these people to have their attention spans divided rather than unified on keeping anything like what I've just described to you from happening.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Deroy Murdock speaking with us right now, a nationally syndicated columnist, Project 21 ambassador, and Fox News contributor. I wanted to ask you before we let you go about the primary results from yesterday, any that you were particularly watching. I know that the Jasmine Crockett one is of particular interest, more probably to the Republicans that she blamed for her loss. What do you think about the redistricting in Texas and how it's going to affect the makeup of the House of Representatives and the loss of Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett in her Senate race?
Well, I was just weeping that after November we won't be able to see her anymore. It's so sad.
I think she'll find a way to be seen.
I don't think she's going to go quietly into the good night, as they say. Yeah, my bigger concern is the Senate primary with the incumbent John Cornyn and Paxton now going into runoff. What this means is that you're going to have the Republicans continuing to collide each other for the next, couple of months, dividing the party, making people more bitter and acrimonious, while on the other side, this guy, Tallarico, who's a brand new guy, fresh face, nobody's seen before, unified, doesn't have to face a runoff. He'll be able to raise money. He'll be able to start campaigning, knocking on doors, et cetera, et cetera. And that's not necessarily a good scenario. Now, he's portraying himself as a moderate, as a centrist. I think he's some sort of a religious minister, that sort of thing, as opposed to Jasmine Crockett, who's just basically a very loud whack job. He comes across as much more reasonable. But if you look at his actual vote record.
Do you write campaign commercials for Tallarico? You just wrote one for him.
I guess I just
primary.
did, right? Yeah. And he comes across as kind of low key and very young, good looking, young good looking guy, as opposed to Cornyn, who's I think running for his 5th term, which means he's been there already, for 24 years, looking for another 30, or going to come to 30 if he finishes that term. And
it's going to cost a lot of money.
A lot of money. If you look at Tallarico's vote record, he has a CPAC American Conservative Union score of about 15%. Now, Jasmine Crockett has about a 5, so she's definitely to his left. But the idea that this guy is some kind of a middle-of-the-road centrist, 30, 45% ACU rating, no, he's 15%, which puts him in the far left quintile. Yeah. But he comes across, he presents himself, he's not loud and profane, and he certainly will come across as much more reasonable. So I think that's going to be a challenging race, whether it's Cornyn wins the primary if Paxton does. I think Paxton's the more solid conservative, but Paxton's had all sorts of colorful things in his marriage and a lot of other things like this. I think he has a lot more baggage to deal with. So I think it's going to be maybe a winnable race, but a lot tougher than Jasmine Crockett. I think is basically almost like Maxine Waters Jr. I think it's a lot easier. Would have been a lot easier running against her than against Tallarico. So it's going to be a bigger challenge, which is the last thing we need right now.
I'm going to put a little faith in Texas in this one, and hopefully they get it right. 100%.
Hopefully so. Mm-hmm.
Deroy, thank you. Always love to speak with you.
Okay, great to you.
Take care.
To speak with you, Annie. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Deroy Murdock, nationally syndicated columnist, Fox News contributor, and Project 21 ambassador. Check out Project 21. It's a great organization. We're going to talk a little bit about Tallarico when we come back. We're going to play a clip. Just if you're not familiar with this guy, you're going to want to learn a little bit about him. He's going to try to win a seat in the Senate for Texas. Woof. Woof. In the words of Ethan Hannaford. Woof. All right. We're going to speak with Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg in 12 minutes, so keep it right here. We're going to find out what the general has to say about the Iran situation, the declaration of War Powers Resolution Act, vote going on in Congress. Is this a righteous action on the administration's part? I have a feeling I know the general direction, no pun intended, that he's going to take, but I'd love to hear it in his own words. Hopefully you will too. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg in 12 minutes. We'll be right back.
New tax resolution firms are popping up every day with high-paid celebrity endorsers, advertising ridiculous claims in their TV ads. That's why they have the tiny, unreadable disclaimers at the bottom of the screen. Hi, this is Lance Drury with the Lance Drury Law Firm. Our ads never have those ridiculous, fast-talking, tiny disclaimers at the end because, simply put, there are no guarantees when it comes to the IRS and wiping out tax bills. And we don't make promises we can't keep. Of course, there are ways the Lance Drury Law Firm can help resolve your tax debt, but no company can guarantee it will eliminate it. This is why their clients call the Lance Drury Law Firm when those promises don't pan out. If you have tax problems, you have legal problems, call me, Lance Drury in St. Louis, at 314-260-6120 or visit Lance, DRURY law.com to schedule your free consultation with your local tax resolution law firm.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right nice soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house coated with Rhino Shield and not have to worry about it again for 25 years.
Take it from Terry. Give Rhino Shield a call now for a free evaluation. 877-25-RHINO. 877-25-RHINO or visit 877-25rhino.com.
There have been neighbors that have come by and said, "Did you just have your house painted?" Because they wanted to know who the contractor was. And I said, "No, it's actually Rhino Shield."
877-25rhino.com.
You can feel the Clydesdales circling the field. Hear the stands come alive. Smell the hot dogs, the popcorn, and cold beer in the air. See the crowd rise as the first pitch hits the glove. And just like that, a new season begins. The countdown is on until opening day, and tickets start at just $49. Don't miss St. Louis's favorite holiday. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/opening day.
Cardinals single-game tickets are now on sale for the 2026 season. The schedule delivers big-time matchups, including weekend series against the Cubs and Dodgers, and visits from the Boston Red Sox. Add in a promotions calendar stacked with fan favorites like all-new giveaways, a Hawaiian short and shirt set, golf-inspired hat, dark mode jersey, and a whole lot more. It's Busch Stadium at its best all season long. Lock in your seats today at Cardinals.com.
Hair volume from New Nordic will make your hair look thick and healthy. Available as a tablet or delicious gummy.
Hair Volume is available online at Amazon and NewNordicUSA.com or in the hair care aisle at your local CVS.
Annie Fry is St. Louis conservative.
All right, Brian, you were telling me how pumped you are for Tallarico to get the Dem nod in Texas.
It was almost verbatim what I said, except the exact reverse.
Big fan.
Huge fan.
Here's Democrat nominee for the Texas Senate seat.
Is both masculine and feminine and everything in between. God is non-binary. Is both.
I see a lot of these clips in my feed. A lot of stuff like this from him.
There's a lot of. I've got like 3 minutes to explain why that's blasphemy, but I just sum it up in that. Very, very scary when people try to define outside of Scripture what God is, because that's like what God is to him, and that means that God is himself, because it's the antithesis of Scripture.
Well, theologically, there is a scripture that says God is neither male nor female. However, you also have to throw away all of the rest of all of the books of the Bible that refer to him or as Father.
The Father, yeah.
Or any writer of the Bible at all always refers to God as male.
What's the Bible verse that says God is not? Is it say he's not male or female, or not man or woman?
No, it says male or female.
Because if you can't get me that answer, I'll just ask Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg about it from the top.
That would be great.
At 1:30. The YouTube live chat poll for today: are you engaged in your state's primary? Yes or no? I'm looking at the results right now, and I like I said this at the beginning of the show. I want you to be honest. I want you to kind of be to self-assess right now. Are you engaged as much as you should be? I get it. If you're an Illinois voter right now, that March primary is March 17th, and you can vote right now. You can walk into the courthouse or wherever you have a polling place that's open. Usually it's like your county seat or whatever, and you can go pull your Republican ballot. You can choose who you want to run for governor against J.B. Pritzker. You can choose who you want to run for Senate to represent you. You can choose those local races. I know the Madison County Board has a couple primaries going, and I think the people who are there right now, who are the incumbents, are doing a great job, as far as I can tell. There's a lot of options for you, and you have to vote by March 17th, but I would incredibly encourage you to go vote right now to get that vote, that ballot cast, and to jump in there, because you don't want to run out of time. And it's a primary. It's easy to forget about. Let's take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to speak with Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, and we're going to talk about Iran. We're going to talk about the kind of planning, research, intel that goes into something like what took place this past weekend, but also when we hear the President of the United States and the Secretary of State and the Secretary of War say something about a 4-week campaign, but we're ahead of schedule. Do we know that this is not going to be a forever war? I think that's really the question that everyone wants answered, and there's no way to answer it until it's over and done with and proven that it's not a forever war. When we come back, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg on The Annie Fry Show. Todd Sivia at Sivia Law. If you haven't had your estate plan established yet, please consider hiring Todd Sivia. In Missouri, in Illinois alike, you're in the best of hands with Todd Sivia and his incredible team. So call 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL, and mention the Annie Fry Show when you call. There's a big reason to call right now. Be one of the first 10 callers after this ad runs. first 10 callers that mention the Annie Fry Show and your strategy session, which is your first session where you sit down and you plan out, this is what you're here for, this is what you want to do. They tell you what they're going to do. It's a $300 value, free, when you drop my name and when you book the appointment. Now, you don't have to book the appointment for like now or next week. It could be scheduled out into your convenience, of course, and theirs. But why pay for it? Mention my name and call right now and be one of the first 10 callers at 833-995-WILL, and they're going to give you that strategy session, that $300 for free. 833-995-WILL, online at civialaw.com.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with Retirement Advisory Group.
Hi, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then, we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
Today's YouTube live chat poll: are you engaged in your state's primary? We want to know where you're at, and it's a simple yes or no question. So jump on Annie's YouTube page, youtube.com/@AnnieFry, and vote in the poll and let us know. Are you engaged in the primary? The time is 1:28. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating, Air Conditioning, Electrical, and Plumbing.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
From Fenton to Fairview, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Look, I think vast majority of Republicans support the president's judgment, particularly on Iran. He's always had good instincts on this. He's always been very consistent on this, that he would never allow them to get a nuclear weapon. In fact, while we're on the air, Steve Witkoff is over on Fox News saying the Iranians told him clearly, quote, we have enough material for 11 nuclear bombs, and that is our starting point. Now, if that's what the Iranian negotiators were telling Steve Witkoff, and he calls back to the president and says, they're saying our starting point is we have enough nuclear material for 11 nuclear bombs. Obviously, the president has consistently over the years said, that's not acceptable to me. So, look, he never hid the ball on this. And for the people who are criticizing him over it, honestly, were you not listening to him for years and years and years when he said repeatedly, no nuclear weapons?
I thought that
he was
the point
clear.
was that we destroyed their capability to have nuclear weapons 8 months ago. I mean, it's either one thing or the other.
And they continue to enrich. I think the point is they keep going.
But Scott, how is that possible?
Time doesn't stop.
Told
People have
reliably
ambitions.
by the president that their nuclear capabilities were obliterated. That's the word that he used.
Well, I mean, I think the Iranians said they have all this.
So you hear Scott Jennings on CNN there talking about the braggadocious nature when Steve Witkoff was in these negotiations with the Iranians, where they said they had the capacity for 11 nuclear bombs. When you're negotiating with Iran, and the point is to how can we get through this? How can we move past this? When a part of the Iranian negotiations is, just so you know, we've got the capacity for 11 nuclear bombs. That makes me wonder if they're really working towards the same goal as the United States was, which was a non-nuclear Iran. Obviously, it wasn't, and now obviously they aren't. Let's get to our next expert guest. Incredibly excited to have Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg back on the show with us, the co-chair of American Security at America First Policy Institute. General, thank you for the time today. It's a pleasure to have you back with us.
Good to be with you, Annie. Thanks. Good to be here.
Of course. Can I just give you the floor to talk about what goes into a decision that an administration makes to make such an aggressive attack on Iran, and to make sure that at the end you've left no doubt that they will not have the capacity to do what he said they didn't want them to do, which is to have a nuclear weapon?
Yeah, well, when you make the decisions with the president, it's not just you go in there and then an hour later you walk out with a decision. You generally go in there and you've got advisors in the room. They talk it over multiple times. They give the president options, the low case, the high case, and the case in between. And then they say, it's up to you, Mr. President, where do you want to go? And he'll make the decision what he wants to get done. Pretty well, he uses what we used to call commander's intent, that this is what he wants to do. And then he goes out and lets the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Secretary of War come up with options for him. And then when they come back with options, he'll make the decision on the options he wants to do. And it's his call. He's the president. He's commander-in-chief. And they will follow his guidance. He's always done that. He's had a really Socratic way of doing business, meaning if you're in the room talking to him, he'll ask you your opinion, and you better be really ready to deliver and give you your opinion on it. So it's just not, one and done in one meeting and kind of pull it out of your fanny. It's well thought through, and with this one, he didn't think of himself. He didn't think of next year. He was thinking of generations to come, where that the Iranians were in the process of building not just nuclear devices, which they probably were. What I mean by that is when you enrich uranium, if you enrich from 3 to 5%, then you're probably building for a power plant or something like that. They were enriching past 60%. The only reason you want to enrich past that number is to get to a nuclear type of weapon. The second part of that is when you look at the missile fleet they have, they were developing really pretty heavy-duty missile systems. The latest one they have could reach all the way to France. Mm-hmm. Why do you need to be able to build weapons for that? So, and then, of course, you look at a regime, which is a theocratic regime that's chance death to America and death to Israel. You've got a destabilizing force in the Middle East. Now, when you talk about nuclear weapons, when you work with a nuclear power, you treat them differently than you treat a non-nuclear power. And the reason for that is you just want to make sure that you don't say something or do something dumb that gets you in a position on the escalation ladder that is regrettable in the near term or the far term. So bottom line, he brought his team in, he brought the experts in, he brought the advisors in, they made the recommendations, he makes the final decision. He is the president.
Certainly. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg with us right now, the co-chair of American Security at America First Policy Institute. In your experience, and you've been around the block a few times, when it comes to President Trump's willingness to negotiate with Iran, first term, second term, his willingness to sit down and try to work out a deal, we've seen him do it with other countries and get deals with countries that I didn't, think that we would be talking about positive futures with. Did this president, Donald J. Trump, work hard to create a space where a negotiated deal could take place with Iran if they wanted to participate? Did we lose him?
He's still there, but I don't.
I'm going to put him on hold here, and maybe Ethan can get to him and just give me a signal if he is able to come back and join us, because we don't want to lose him. Just sounded like he went mute there for a second. We were speaking with Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, the co-chair of American Security at America First Policy Institute, the former assistant to the president and special presidential envoy for Ukraine. You can find him on X at General Kellogg. There are just a lot of different parts that come into a decision like this. And I think that one thing that hasn't really been talked about as much is President Trump's willingness. He talks about how he hates death. He hates to see these warring countries just killing people by the tens of thousands. The Iranian regime killing their own people to the tune of plus 30,000 of their own people who who wanted to stand up to the government. In the United States, look, everywhere you go, every issue that exists, we have protests all over the country that are saying, something about, I don't know, you sum it up the way the Democrats do, F Trump. Simply F Trump. Those are evergreen signs for the left, F Trump, over and over and over again. That happens in the United States of America because of the First Amendment. But when you stand up and you disagree with your government in Iran, they kill you. You don't survive that. Like I said, to the tunes of tens of thousands of Iranian people who dared challenge their government. They didn't live to tell the story about it. As Iran is pushing its way into a nuclear capacity, you have to wonder what they'd be willing to do to their own people. What would they be willing to do to the people who they hate around the globe? I think we have the general back here. I'm sorry about that, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg back with us right now.
It's bottom line. Let me answer two questions at once. When you go into a negotiation like with Iran, you have certain things, a floor. You basically say, these are my red lines. I'm not going to do it. You can't have a nuclear weapon, period. So they were enriching uranium at a certain level. You can't do it. You have to turn over your enriched uranium. You don't do it, it's game over. Secondly, this was a theocratic government, meaning they don't care about their people. They were saying death to America, death to Israel, and they were coming from a European, a religious men, and they weren't thinking about their conflict with other nations. They didn't care. So in that regard, they had a disregard for life, and they've proven that.
Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg with us right now. General, when the president is working to negotiate, he's sending Kushner and Witkoff there to have those discussions. They call back and they say that they have the materials for 11 nuclear bombs. I felt like in the public, the president was saying that there was action coming. Is there some sort of like cat and mouse thing that Iran would play, or are they just disingenuous in their negotiating just all the time?
Well, they were correctly negotiators, bottom line, Annie. And when they should have realized they were over the red line that President Trump wanted, and they knew they were building nuclear weapons. And the reason for that is we knew back in Trump 1, one, you treat nuclear nations differently than you treat non-nuclear weapon countries. Number two, that was totally destabilizing the Middle East. If they got a nuclear weapon, what would about the Saudis would have gotten one? What about the Emiratis or somebody else? And he didn't want to have an arms race. So he was looking out for himself. He was looking out for future generations. Yeah. He was looking after my grandchildren, or my sons and daughters, and people's sons and daughters. The other thing is he's looking after the Iranian people as well. When the mullahs took over years ago, it became a very structured society religiously. For example, with women, you couldn't get out in public without a hijab on. Could you imagine if I told you, it was directed that you personally, Annie, couldn't go outside with that unless you were dressed a certain way? Well, that was real discrimination, and he's pretty open about that and very honest about that. And they just reached a point where they were disingenuous, their negotiations. I don't think that they thought, which they were wrong, that this President Trump, had the guts to pull the trigger, because we haven't had a president do that all the way back to Truman. So they made a bad call. They made a mistake. I knew it would have happened. We were pretty sure when they were loading up like they were doing, you don't load up that much combat power and not use it. So they were just bad negotiators.
Big mistake, huge. Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg with us right now. I've heard a lot of just getting up and listening to the press conferences by the Secretary of War and General Kane there, Chairman Kane, and listening to the preparation and the execution of the plan that was put in place. And I'm hearing phrases like, this hasn't been done since World War II, and the scope and the breadth of what the American military has been able to accomplish, alongside, of course, our partners, our allies with Israel. I'm wondering, in your mind, General, what the mission epic fury that we're watching right now, how does this reverberate around the world about the American superiority, our military presence, and our strength as a country, and our willingness to lead?
Well, I think when it comes to equipment, for example, give you a good example, is when you look at the Lucas, which is the unmanned drone, what they call a kamikaze drone, or the F-22, or the F-35, or the B-1, or the B-2, or the Patriot system. We have the best equipment in the world. Happens to be operated by the best men and women in uniform in the world. And there's no number two. You got to go to number 3, number 4, number 5. They were protected, the Iranians, were protected by the best that the Russians had to, and the Chinese as well, gave them and had them use. It failed. I mean, how many airplanes have we lost? None. You know, how many, and unfortunately, the soldiers were killed, but our losses have been minimum. We have no restrictions. We're doing truly unrestricted warfare in the skies. So how does that get there? And how does that happen? It happens because we have great soldiers and sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen, and exceptional equipment. It's that simple. And so there's no class others than ours in the world, and we're showing that now on a daily basis. We should feel pretty good about that.
Yeah, it certainly is. There is some shock and awe involved in it. General, when we get to this point where this administration has made the determination to strike with such resolve in a totality mentality, if I think back to the Biden administration and the Obama administration, such a wildly different approach to foreign policy, specifically with Iran. Did those administrations, in their very soft touch policy towards this country, give Iran the expedience to be able to get further down the road towards their nuclear weapons?
Boy, absolutely. I mean, here you have a president who's got the guts. Call it a different phrase if you want to. Got the guts to act, and none of the other presidents did, because that equipment was always there. So you always had a first-rate military. You always had the equipment that was there. You had somebody in the leadership position as commander-in-chief, the president, that was afraid to pull the trigger. This president isn't, and he's proven that. So by not doing that, they said, the opponents, realized that they could go up the escalation ladder and do something and kind of tweak our noses. This president won't let them do it. I don't care who you are. You're going to have to live with your decisions that you make if you're on the opposite side, if you're an opponent, an adversary, and it allows him a lot more latitude to build up and do stuff. You know, President Trump, including his first term, was very clear about not letting Iran get a nuclear weapon. What happened under Joe Biden, whether you like it or not, they were allowed to enrich uranium to 60, 70%. They were heading towards weapon grade, and as Steve Witkoff said, they had enough uranium, enriched uranium, to build multiple nuclear weapons. That didn't happen under Trump 1. Sure didn't happen under Trump 2. It had to happen under Biden. That kind of answers your question.
Yeah, it certainly does. Before we let you go, we're speaking with Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, the co-chair of American Security at America First Policy Institute. They have said they've put kind of a 4-week time frame on this engagement. They have said that they're ahead of schedule. A lot of people keep using that phrase, forever war. How is this time different, and do you think 4 weeks is a fair assessment of a timeline?
Well, I don't think we're going to get involved in a forever war. I think we're boots on the ground. I think the length of this, when they say 4 weeks, is kind of an outside, because I think they're ahead of schedule. You know, they're going to reach a point on targeting that they've serviced to attack most of the targets or all the targets that they wanted to. They're getting no resistance at all. So that's going to be up to getting rid of that theocratic regime, which was the mullahs. You know, it's sort of like, instead of whack-a-mole, it's whack-a-mullah. You know, it's one of those, every time somebody shows up, raises their hand, he's going to be in charge, he's dead within 24 hours. So I don't even know who's in charge right now at this minute. You know, I know that Khamenei's son was brought to be made in charge. Well, he just next on the target list. And I think it's in that period of time, multiple weeks, the amount of targeting that they're doing right now and the opposition they're getting against them right now, I think will be minimus, and it'll reach a point where once somebody else gets in charge, they're going to take control. I think the goal is to get a different government in there. And right now, let's use an example of, you know, when you look at the Iranian Navy, it's at the bottom of the sea. There aren't any naval forces at all from Iran in the Persian Gulf. And we've been taken out by submarine on an Iranian ship that was in the Indian Ocean. So right now, I'm not too worried about targeting, and I'm sure they've got a target list. They're going down the target list, you know, crossing one on after another, and it's just a matter of time to get it done.
Well, Lieutenant General Keith Kellogg, we're so grateful for your time back here with us on the Annie Fry Show and your insight. It's invaluable. We're grateful for that after the conversation today.
Thanks, Annie. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Bye-bye. General Kellogg there speaking with us about what goes into something like this. It's just the magnitude of it is just bigger than my pea brain mind can consume. And I think about the study that has to go into deciding. First, you have to determine intention. First, you have to determine, if you're President Trump, and boy, he negotiates with anybody and everybody. There's nobody who he's not willing to talk to, which I think is the greatest strength. You even see that on just, take it a little bit more closer to home. You see that on the home front. Governor Whitmer in Michigan thanked Donald Trump for some of the investment that came to Michigan. And Donald Trump had Whitmer in the Oval Office a couple times. Remember when she hid behind her folder or whatever? It's a great picture. He'll talk to anybody. And, we had a conversation where he went to the Middle East and he made that amazing speech. Everybody was talking about how great this speech was. And he's made partners with countries that normally we do not partner with. He's lifted sanctions on Syria. And I'm just watching all this going, this is just like, okay, we're in a new era when Donald Trump is at the negotiating table, and he's going to Iran and he's trying to make these negotiations with them. And obviously Iran is not interested in good faith negotiation. So you have to determine intent. And if you know that Iran's intent is to stall until they can get to where they want to get, and they, I guess, are so dumb to think that we'll be like, okay, we'll just wait and just keep talking and talking. Gosh, you know what? Politicians talk. Leaders lead. Leaders act. And I just can't help but look at a whole lot of people in American government right now and just say it's just full of politicians. We need policymakers. We need people with ideas. We need people with the boldness to step out and say, this is what's right for the American people on behalf of the American people. Not some protection of some swamp bureaucracy that exists. We've always done it this way. Why would we do it differently now? I don't know. Trillions and trillions of dollars of debt and all sorts of unrest that exists on the homeland and in foreign countries. And we just sit and all we do, this is what just chafes me to no end. All we do, and then, of course, you have us here in the conservative talk media industry, and we're the worst at it, I feel like. We just want to make sure everybody knows who to blame. Like, if I could just look at my job for 3 hours a day and make sure that when you get done with 3 hours of the Annie Fry Show, because I know you guys are all listening to all 3 hours, 180 minutes. I wouldn't even listen to me that long. That's bad marketing. Sorry, don't listen to me now. See? You spend your entire time with me, and my job is to make sure that at the end of the day, you blame Democrats for everything? What a waste of time. What a waste of space. That doesn't get anybody anywhere. What if there's something that those Democrats and I say us, we Republicans, even though I know we aren't all Republicans and you Democrats aren't all opposed to everything Republican. What if there was something we could come together and agree on that would be better for the American people? But we spend all of our time worrying about who to blame. Do you know who does that? My 4-year-old. That's what little children do. Who do we blame? And at the end of the day, as long as she's like, I didn't do it, she started it, she thinks she's going to win that argument. Unfortunately for her, I'm a little bit smarter than that, and I'm on to her. I'm on to that 4-year-old. She's good at it, but not that good. And apparently Iran, same thing. Quick break, the YouTube live chat poll. Are you engaged in your state's primary, yes or no? YouTube.com/@AnnieFry to vote. Text us who you are invested in this primary, 314-241-9797. Back in a minute. Stewie at Stewart's American Mortgage, man, he's a happy camper because rates have come down. And if you've been thinking about doing something with your mortgage, Stewie is ready to help you out. You just got to give him a call. You can text him, same number. This number goes directly to him, 314-324-4440. That's 314-324-4440. Stewie wants to hook you up with a bagel loan. So you go through the process of qualifying for it. Super simple. And then when you get the bagel loan, you can refinance your current home with that lower rate. No cost to you. No closing costs, no fees. They don't exist. He takes care of them for you. If you're getting a new home or new purchase, if you've been recommended to use a particular lender, check them out. That's fine. But just, do do the 314-324-4440 and check and see if he can do you a better job. That's what you're going to want to do. The bagel loan is where it's at. You can Google the bagel loan to find out more information and reach out to somebody who I trust. I've done it twice myself. I encourage you to give him a try to improve your mortgage situation as well. 314-324-4440. Google the bagel loan, NMLS number 226715.
Let's show our appreciation for local heroes. Mark Cox here. Nominate a first responder and their department could get lunch from Grill Master Tony's. I'll personally deliver it. Share their story at 971talk.com. Nominate them today.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Home power used to be simple. Now the car plugs in, the scooter plugs in, the space heater plugs in, and your electric panel starts popping.
That sounds bad, but I like popcorn.
Popcorn is great, sparks are not. Call Grasser. We'll upgrade your panel so you can run it all.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
Law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities.
Opponents of this law are preying upon fear of change to lie and fearmonger.
JB and BJ are the liars and the fearmongers. They are the sickness that is killing Illinois and Illinoisans. They give sanctuary to foreign predators and sanction to domestic repeat offenders while vilifying the police. A Cook County study found 74% of criminal defendants failed to show up to court after being released under Pritzker's Safety Act. Listen to this suburban police chief.
I don't call it the Safety Act. I call it the Unsafety Act because that's what it is. There's no. I'm still waiting for somebody to explain to me where does safety come in. Who are we keeping safe here when you call it the Safety Act?
Not you. I will repeal Pritzker's purge law and end JB and BJ's killing spree before it hits you. I'm Ted Dabrowski, your conservative candidate for governor, and I'm asking for your vote in the Republican primary on March 17th. Paid for by Ted for Illinois.
What if every time you spent money, you saved money too? With Achieve It Checking from Together Credit Union, you can do just that. Every debit card purchase is rounded up to the nearest dollar, and the spare change goes right into your savings. And here's the best part. Together Credit Union boosts your progress by matching qualifying savings, up to $8 a month. It's a free checking account that helps you achieve more automatically. Learn more, or better yet, enroll today at togethercu.org. Together Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA.
You're listening to The Annie Fry Show, 97.1 FM Talk, St. Louis Conservative.
Well, the text line number is 314-32, or nope, that's Stewie's. I almost did it again. You can either get a bagel loan. Yeah, text him about the primary. 314-241-9797. I once did a whole live. Was it? No, I didn't. I did a whole bump out of a segment telling people to call us about something. It was like, who do you want in the Republican primary? People asking for bagel loans, people going, Donald Trump, man. Maybe some of those people got a new mortgage.
I'm trying to.
314-241-9797 if you would like to text us your thoughts. Are you engaged in your state's primary, yes or no? The Illinois primary ends March 17th. It began weeks ago. You can go vote right now in the Illinois primary, and boy, do I encourage you to do so. You got to get out. You got to vote. You got to weigh in. We've got to put somebody in that position to challenge J.B. Pritzker, who has a shot at winning the whole thing. And I think that he's ripe for the beating this year. So let's step up and be a part of this primary process. There's a Senate candidate that we get to elect this year. It's Dick Durbin's seat that he's retiring from. It's a likely Democrat seat, I'm sure, safe maybe, according to how it's ranked. But let's step up and make it a fight. Let's make a case. Absolutely. You never know what could happen. Do you have any text?
I do. I have this one text I want to make sure we get in before we stop here. Not voting in the primary because they all lie.
That's such a stupid assessment.
This is what it says. Tell you what, they think that you tell you what you want to hear is what he's saying here. And so he is not going to vote in the primary because of that.
We don't know Missouri or Illinois.
Illinois.
So is you just a 618er?
Yeah.
That's such a bad attitude. I'm calling you out, man. Woman, whichever one you are. It is not that is not accurate. And I've met these people, and the idea that you have the choice to opt in to taking J.B. Pritzker out. I mean, maybe you're just a supporter of J.B. Pritzker. Maybe you're a Democrat. I don't know. But you've got options in front of you right now in this Illinois primary. And everybody who runs for office isn't that scummy kind of person who we tend to, I would say, lazily suggest that all politicians are. That's not how it works. But if you get invested, if you get to know them, if you learn about them, then maybe you can discern who might best represent you. Because if you opt out, it's hard to complain. It should be hard to complain, but I guess it's not. Back in a minute. Don't go away.
Hi, I'm Bob Kershaw with...
Hey, I'm Tammy Kershaw. When we meet our clients for the first time, they have built up a lifetime of savings. Their question is, what can we do with this money so we can live comfortably the rest of our lives? First, we develop a strategy to protect your nest egg from any market losses. Then we build your own personalized structured income plan that will generate you an income the rest of your life. We put you in control of your money.
You've earned it, and it's our job to make sure you enjoy it. Let our team show you how you can have the retirement of your dreams. Call us now at 314-993-9494 for a no-cost, no-obligation retirement review. You will also get a copy of our latest edition book, Your Key to a Worry-Free Retirement. We've been helping retirees and pre-retirees retire with confidence for 40 years. Call us now at 314-993-9494 or go online at retirementkey.com. That's retirementkey.com.
Home Shield Foundation Repairs.com is the website. I assure you that when you call 314-271-9900, that's 314-271-9900, connect yourself with Home Shield Foundation Repair, you're going to understand why Matt Hayes and this local family-owned and operated business has been successful for as long as they have, because they do it the right way. I think it matters. It matters to me, at least, that these are St. Louis people. This is a St. Louis homegrown company. So when it comes to getting your basement waterproofed, and you know it's going to be an investment, you want to make sure the work is top quality. You want to make sure that the people who are going to be in your home are trustworthy. And the team that Matt Hayes has assembled at Home Shield Foundation Repair is incredibly reliable. They're great at what they do, and they will put a lifetime warranty on that basement waterproofing service for your home. That's going to make you feel very confident when you're talking to him. These are the right people to do the job. But judge for yourself. Have them over 314-271-9900. Online at HomeshieldFoundationRepairs.com.
For decades, Morgan & Morgan has represented hundreds of thousands of people at their hour of need. Injuries on the job, car crashes, medical malpractice, and nursing home abuse, Social Security claims, dangerous drugs, and dangerous products. We became America's largest injury firm for a reason, and no firm is even close. Then we got to thinking, what if we could prevent these terrible events before they occurred? So we built the AI-powered People Protector. Simply visit peopleprotector.com and type in the product you have questions about before you buy it. Children's toys and accessories, cars, drugs, products, you name it, we got it. With our success, we decided to pay it forward for all of America. Our way of saying thank you for your trust all these years. Morgan & Morgan, protecting America. And if you've already been injured, just visit us at forthepeople.com.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements. Past results afford no guarantee of future results. Every case is different and must be judged on its own merits.
KFTK FM Florissant from the Kaufman Townsley St. Louis's Injury Lawyers Studio. Call 314-777-7777.
That's 314-777-7777.
Air Comfort Service, heating, cooling, and insulation. Weather.
Temperatures and humidity up going through the afternoon with periods of showers and a couple of thunderstorms. Strongest storms holding just to our south and southeast, 65 for the high. Then tonight, showers, couple of thunderstorms around 55. Thursday, a mix of clouds and sunshine, periods of showers and 71. Friday, partly sunny, warm and humid, 80. This is 97.1 FM Talk. Chief Meteorologist Dave Murray.
Brady, Fox News. Why now to attack Iran?
President Trump does not make these decisions in a vacuum.
Spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt cites a cumulative effect of direct threats posed by Iran and recent nuclear talks.
The president found that through these extensive, exhaustive, failed negotiations with Iran, that they were hell-bent on death and destruction. So again, the president was not going to be just another president on a very long list who sat back and stood by and passed the buck of this direct threat to the next administration.
She says the objectives are clear, including Iran's missile, drone, and nuclear programs, and that while the U.S. would welcome regime change, it is not the reason for the military mission. Many Democrats in Congress remain skeptical.
President has indicated that he's interested in regime change, but we know that regime change wars have never worked out for the American people and have cost thousands of lives.
House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, as the Senate gets set for a test vote on a war powers resolution aiming to limit the president's actions without congressional approval. The White House spokeswoman also telling reporters that Spain has agreed to cooperate after President Trump threatened trade retaliation, but Spain's foreign minister denies cooperation with U.S. operations, saying his government's position on war in the Middle East and the use of Spain's bases has not changed. The White House also pushing back on questions about why Americans weren't given evacuation options before fighting began. Leavitt says there were warnings.
The State Department was all hands on deck on advising extreme caution and do not travel alerts to Americans in the region.
About a dozen U.S. embassies are shut down as Iran launches retaliatory attacks. The State Department in contact with more than 6,000 Americans, arranging flights and buses. America is listening to Fox News.
You ever wonder why Verizon charges twice as much as Pure Talk for the same basic service? Think it might have something to do with the fact that Verizon spends $12 billion a year on advertising and promotion? That's billion with a B? Yeah, Pure Talk doesn't spend that kind of money on commercials. That's why they can offer unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data on a blazing fast 5G network for just $25 a month. Save an additional 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say the words micro. That's pound 250, micro.
LifeLock, how can I help?
The IRS said I filed my return, but I haven't.
1 in 4 tax-paying Americans has paid the price of identity fraud.
What do I do?
My refund, though.
I'm freaking out.
Don't worry, I can fix this.
LifeLock fixes identity theft guaranteed and gets your money back with up to $3 million in coverage.
I'm so relieved.
No problem. I'll be with you every step of the way.
1 in 4 was a fraud-paying American. Not anymore. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
The Annie Fry Show is sponsored by Air Comfort Service Heating, Cooling, and Insulation. Air Comfort Service is celebrating 56 years of residential and commercial service, maintenance and installation, and heating and cooling systems. Get in your comfort zone. AirComfortService.com.
Annie Fry, Ryan Wiggins, Brad Range.
That's us. That's right. Gotta love this American ride. What do you want from me? I'm not America's sweetheart.
For goodness sake, kid. Keep your voice down. Your father's listening to the radio.
I'm not America's sweetheart.
This is the Annie Fry Show on 97.1 FM Talk.
The poll today is asking if you're engaged in your state's primaries, yes or no. I kind of didn't realize until I turned on the news last night that the Texas primary was yesterday. So I really wasn't engaged in that one. Jasmine Crockett is somebody who she's like nails on a chalkboard to me. To me, she's like just seeking attention. I heard Outnumbered talking before our show started, and it was really like kind of one of the women, I wish I remember which one it was, she basically said that your TikTok following is not your constituency. And she felt like Jasmine Crockett not being able to pull off the Senate primary was proof of that you can't just be the squeakiest wheel getting the grease all the time. And you can do that on social media, but that doesn't immediately translate to you should be in the United States Senate, one of 100 in Texas, of course. Now, it's even less than that because she couldn't win the primary. I feel as though Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, probably the original influencer in Congress. Anybody precede AOC? Can you think of anybody? Rand Paul's kind of got a brand, but it was Congress-based.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of anybody that would be purely a social media brand.
That got you there.
That's how they got into Congress.
Some might argue that Barack Obama was. Barack Obama harnessed YouTube before YouTube was as big of a thing. There's you could research about how YouTube was a very leading draw for Barack Obama to win in the 2008 primary and then the presidency. And then a lot of people also credit Facebook for President Trump's 2016 victory. But Barack Obama and Donald Trump were massive political figures before they got to those roles.
I'm going to throw out one name. You tell me if you agree or disagree.
Disagree.
Chuck Grassley. No?
Yeah.
Yeah?
No.
Okay.
I just think that it's okay. Just because you're super socially active, just because you have a strong presence and like a good social media game, I think that's a great thing. I actually think that it would be better if more of them had that type of relationship, because it's such a direct to consumer way to do your job when you are truly a representative in government. Your purpose is to serve the people, and the easier that you can reach them, that you can speak to them, the better. Here's a man who I don't think got there this way, but is just absolutely killing it, Representative Burchett.
Senator Lindsey Graham is now calling for the U.S. to start bombing Lebanon in response to the Hezbollah IDF faction.
Lindsey hadn't seen a fist fight he hasn't wanted to turn into a bombing, right? So I just take it with a grain of salt, dude.
He's like the House Kennedy, Senator Kennedy.
Yeah.
He doesn't miss. And the Carhartt jacket is just signature.
I noticed that.
I love it.
Is that a brand? Not Carhartt, but is that the Burchett brand?
Because it's accessible.
Yeah.
It's the Jim Jordan not wearing a suit coat. That's a branding move. And it's a good one. He's a wrestling coach from Ohio. He's got his sleeves rolled up and he's there to do business, and the coat kind of gets in the way. Fetterman wears sweatshirts and hoodies. It's a move. I think it's played off for all of them. We know about all of it. All right, we pushed this away long enough.
Wiggins! All right, this is ways to have a better relationship once you get home after work. It's after work habits that are secretly harming your relationship, say psychologists. So these are things you should not do when you get home from work today.
And I bet one of the things is bringing the work home. But I'll let you tell us.
You will see.
Okay.
The first one is immediately venting without checking your partner's capacity to accept that venting.
Yeah.
Good advice.
Yeah.
This is something that anybody in the room does.
Jared and I have a ritual when I leave the station here. I'm running to go get the kids from school, one of the schools that they go to. And I call him real quick because he has a prep period. So I can talk to him just to orchestrate to make sure that all of the logistics. It's weird to have a life that is mostly logistics.
I understand.
It's like, what percentage of conversation with your wife is logistics?
50 probably at least.
At least. Isn't that really crazy?
Mm-hmm.
You ever think about when the kids are gone, what are we going to talk about?
Do you send your
We'll
spouse...
be like, who's going to go pick up the Wigginses?
We just talked about this on a date on Valentine's Day after you told me that we had to go on a date on Valentine's Day, so we did.
I don't remember doing that, but it's a great idea.
And I told her, I actually... this is so nice. I'm going to broadcast it. It's so nice. I told her, I really like spending time with you such that I'm not even nervous about when the kids are gone because we are such good friends. And she agreed.
That you and your wife are good friends?
That we're good enough friends that I said, I'm not really concerned about when the kids are gone because I like spending time with you. And right now, we don't get to spend time together.
So you're talking to your wife on Valentine's Day about when the kids are gone, what happens next?
Yes.
It's a weird thing to get to that place.
Yeah, we're not even really close to it. It's now at least we can see light at the end of the tunnel.
Time only starts to rapidly move faster.
Yes.
But it's an interesting thing to think about because I do have momentary freakouts about what it's going to be like when we're not doing all the kid things. I'm getting, screw you, Instagram. I don't do Instagram a lot, but Instagram I think has a way of cutting into people's soul in a non-healthy way. But it's like showing videos of parents at sporting events, and it's like me realizing that the moments where I'm the most stressed out are the moments I'm going to miss the most.
Oh, I know.
And I want to say something other than screw you.
Why don't you shut up, Instagram?
Yeah, I'm like, now I feel bad for feeling stressed out. thanks.
Yeah.
That's really super helpful. And I want to cry.
Have you thought about every moment that you've ever lived in your life as the last moment like that?
You're
You're like, what the heck?
Here's
Stop
another
it.
dumb thing going around Instagram. You didn't. I read this one time on a Facebook post that somebody put up, and I cried. But it was like, you didn't know the last time. I'm going to choke up right now. I got to get. Come on, Annie. Come here and slap me in the face.
I will. Start talking first because I want people to hear it.
Yeah. Ryan, I think it was serious.
That was so weak. That would not have been me.
Yeah. Here you go.
No.
A little love tap. You didn't know the last time you picked up your child that it was going to be the last time you held your child.
That's true.
I know.
I don't want to know that.
Just stab me in the gut.
You know what I did after I saw that? I went home and picked up my 11-year-old.
That's the no, I'm not joking. That's the Instagram thing. There are moms who are standing in front of their 14-year-old boys who are bigger than them, and they're saying that there's this thing going around the internet, and it says that, and like, these boys are so sweet. They're like, okay, Mom, yeah, you can hold me again. And then they pick them up. These boys that are bigger than their moms pick them up, and they wrap, and then they hold, and there's just like, it's been a long time to see you again. And stupid music is behind it, and it's 2 a.m., and I can't sleep, and I'm crying, and Jared's snoring.
What's up with these giant moms picking up 14-year-old boys?
I know.
Are they MMA?
And I want to like go into Charlie's room and be like, Charlie, I need you for a minute. Charlie is, I bet I could hold him for a minute. Not a minute, for a period of time. I asked him one time, I'm like, would you let me do this? And he was like, I don't know, I guess. Like, he didn't want to tell me no. So sweet, right?
Have you ever slapped anybody like because they were being rude?
No, I don't think so.
It's something that I always think girls have always done, but I realize it's probably not that common like in movies.
I don't think so.
If you did, would you say fresh?
I guess now.
You better.
I've never heard that before.
Fresh.
This is a long way around from your initial thing
Anyway.
of venting. But anyway, my husband and I call and we talk to each other for maybe 3 minutes. All right, I'm going here, you're going there, we're doing this, we're doing that. But then if there's something else going on that we need to get off our chest, we kind of do it then so that it's not when we're physically together and it's done with. But it's not fun to go home from work and then have to pick up somebody else, like pick up the burdens. It's part of your responsibility as a spouse to be there for them. But when you got a lot going on, sometimes you want to like exhale.
Well, I'm glad you said that. It's a great segue into number 2.
I'm a pro.
It's the exact opposite. In fact, it says avoiding talking about work stress altogether. It says that you should at least have some discussion of your day, especially if there's stress. That's the safest place to talk to somebody.
The problem with doing it right, I mean, immediately though, when you get home, which is kind of what this is saying not to do, is that the kids are running around. They're, nagging at you to get, they're hungry. I want a snack. They always want a snack. That's all
they do.
That's all you do is pick them up and give them snacks.
Yep.
And
why do you even have dinner?
I don't even know. I'm like, we're gonna have dinner in 2 hours, and then they whine for 2 hours that they want a snack, and I'm like,
Yep.
just eat the snacks. Just eat snacks.
Yeah.
Just don't
go
stop
eat
until
your
you fall
unhealthy
asleep.
stuff. I'm trying to go over here and make macaroni
Yeah, the healthy stuff.
with old hot dogs.
Sometimes we'll lay in bed and like if there's something else to talk about that maybe we didn't get to, we'll kind of talk about it while we're laying there. Because it's got to be when it's just the two of you. Otherwise, it's
really hard.
Yeah, you can't really.
I feel
dish.
bad sometimes. We're like, go to bed, and they're like, well, it's only 8:45. We're like, we got to talk. They're like, okay.
Go eat some snacks.
Go eat snacks. Go have some goldfish, kids. Stick your face into some jujubes. Okay,
that's kind of weird.
How about this one? Staying in problem-solving mode the whole time you're at home. So, like, keeping in work mode, in work brain.
Yeah, that's what when that comes up at home, I'm like, all we're doing is administrating.
Yep.
There's no, and it'll kind of, if you've got a lot going on, if school is picked up like crazy and you're just trying to be everywhere and you just feel like everywhere you turn you're failing, you forget that you like chose each other first before any of this stuff.
The next one is very obvious. It's doom scrolling and zoning out with social media instead of talking or connecting at all.
Yeah. You have to prioritize the human connection. But sometimes, in addition to that, if you need some just like you time.
Yeah, you actually have to zone out sometimes.
There has to be a balance there. But if you're using that to avoid, like, are you using it for avoidance or are you using it to just decompress?
Right.
I think that it's not always bad to scroll, but I think that it's often used as a distraction.
I get very annoyed if I'm trying to say something real to my wife and she's
on her phone
looking down the whole time. She's trying to listen, but she's not trying hard enough.
Have you
And then
ever
the
said
reverse
to
is true,
her,
too.
like, I need to tell you something. Can you look at me?
Yes, or I'll do the thing where I'll just stop talking entirely and just see if
The passive-aggressive
noticed.
thing?
But I'm not mad. I'm just waiting. Like
Yeah.
I'm actually deferring
If you-
and saying, "You just finish up what
If
you're
you
doing."
stop talking and wait to see if she notices, that's like as passive-aggressive as
Well, it looks like it. It's not though. My heart is clean. But I do the same thing to her though. That's the thing. So I get it. It's not like I'm
Well,
upset by it.
I'm where we are right now is I'll be like, Jared, I need your full attention for a minute. I need to tell you something. And it might be logistical
Yeah.
or it might be this is frustrating me or
Yeah.
whatever it might be.
Listen to my emotions.
But to say it, if I can tell that the attention is divided, I've learned to try to be like, this is important. I need to talk to you for a second, because he doesn't multitask. Your wife can multitask?
Oh, she's amazing.
You?
I can do 2. That's multi. So yeah, I can multitask. You led me right into the next one though, because you already got there. Not respecting space. So if your partner needs some space, needs some alone time, let them have it. You can't just use up every ounce of time because there's just so little in every day.
That's where I'll go take a shower because I feel like it's the place I'm the most safe, but I will have an audience of children, less children these days, but they'll just sit in there and be like, hey, Mom, what's your favorite color? Purple.
Yeah, I know. Dad, look what I made with this Lego. I'm like, great.
It's the best thing you've ever done.
It's
I'm
great.
super happy for you.
I love it. And he's like, let me explain how I got here, though.
Answers. Yeah. Get a little sarcastic.
How about inconsistency in completing responsibilities? We don't really struggle with this one too bad, but it would be really annoying if this was a consistent issue.
It's incredibly frustrating if you're the person who's inconsistent in completing things that people expect you to do, or if that's what your partner is doing. And I would stress, if I were like mentoring a newly married couple, I would say the sooner that you can understand strengths and weaknesses, when you have a strength that your partner is weak in, absorb that for them and help them. Because if you help them, it will help you. If you are waiting for them to be as good as at said thing as you are, it's not going to happen and you're going to be resentful. And you have to understand that there are strengths that they have that are very much so your weaknesses. And when I think men are better at picking up on those and just doing that. Like, if I can help, I'm going to do it. I think women harbor things a little bit more in that regard, that instead of having an expectation that they repeatedly fail to meet, figure out how you can help them meet that expectation and know that in a healthy relationship, they're doing the same thing for your weaknesses. There are things that you don't do well and they're picking up for you and maybe not even really talking about it or asking for acknowledgement for it. That's really what it's not a 50-50 thing. Like the power of a partnership comes in throwing yourself into making the person you're with a better person, knowing that they're doing the same thing for you. And Jared and I took too long to understand that about each other. It's just a process of marriage and pushing through it, but we're much happier together where my expectations for things he's not great at, that I just help him in those areas. And I know that he is certainly doing that for me in my infinite deficiencies.
The last one we've somewhat covered, but it also applies to all of them. It's ignoring transitions, especially emotional transitions. It's important to create space.
How many do you get a day?
How many transitions?
Emotional transitions.
1. Go home, and I go from being on to being
foul
off.
On the play. I believe that is your third infraction.
Expecting a partner to instantly switch from work stress to relational presence creates sometimes misunderstandings, sets everyone up for failure.
Oh, so you just mean like shifting from this part of your life to the other part of your life?
Yeah.
Not like the kids are moving out. Transitions.
Not huge life milestone transitions. No, just those daily moves from, I was doing that, now we're doing this. You got to get into the mode.
Good list. After work habits that are harming your relationships. Wiggins America. A little bit post-dated there. All right, when we come back, Ethan Sports and Local, when we return, Ethan had a conversation with Victor Scott the second. We're going to talk a little bit about that when he comes in here and whatever else he brings to the table. The YouTube poll, are you engaged in your state's primary? We'll be right back.
Hey, it's Mark Reardon for the Doctors at Ophthalmology Associates. We call them the Doctors because they've treated more than 250 doctors, more than any other practice in St. Louis. So if you're looking for the best doctors for your best vision, it's Ophthalmology Associates. Doctors Greg Birdie, Ranjan Malhotra, Robert Brusati, and Andy Royer. Doctors Birdie and Malhotra are cornea surgeons and experts in the diagnosis and treatment of diseases of the eye. I had an eye disease when I was younger. It left me with a silicone buckle around my right eye, so I put my trust in Ophthalmology Associates to take care of my annual checkups. Maybe you're experiencing dry eye, allergy eyes. They can help. They can help with cataracts, macular degeneration, glaucoma, and LASIK surgeries. And if you're looking for the best eye care, it's Ophthalmology Associates. Make an appointment today by calling 314-966-5000 or online at youridoc.com. They have a great office location just west of 270 on Manchester Road. Again, the phone number, 314-966-5000. The website, youridoc.com. Ophthalmology Associates. Hey, it's Mark Reardon. I'm with Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage, and if you're thinking about refinancing, he has some great advice.
Mark, this is a great time to refinance. If you financed over the last 3 years, you're probably paying a higher rate. Take advantage now. Refinance with the Bagel loan. No closing costs, no title fees, no lender fees, nothing. Bagel looks like a zero, easy to remember. For those of you folks that are waiting on the sideline saying, hey, maybe the rates will go down more, I'm going to wait. Take advantage now. A bird in the hand's better than two in the bush. Refinance. Get the cash out you need. Get a lower rate, maybe even go from a 30 to a 20 year and keep that payment the same, all with the Bagel loan.
This is a quick process, right?
We close in 10 days. We send a notary out to your house to close so you don't have to take off any time from work. It's easy. It's simple. Bing, bang, boom. Your home is the biggest investment you're going to make in your life. Deal with somebody local, somebody who has a reputation, somebody who has accountability. I'm here in town. You can call me or text me after hours, weekends, whenever it's convenient for you.
Call or text Stewie at 314-324-4440 or Google the Bagel loan. NMLS number 226715.
Start the new year off on a healthier note by taking active liver supplements from New Nordic every day. Available online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com or at your local CVS, ShopRite, Meyer Grocery, or Wegmans.
Annie Fry is St. Louis conservative.
How do you keep yourself rooted despite a game that is full of challenge and struggles and pressure?
For sure, for me, it's my faith and reading and note taking the Bible every day. That's something that is in my routine that has nothing to do with baseball. That's kind of the external piece on how I keep myself grounded, and that relationship is with me and God, but also with my mom, my dad. And talking through scripture with them as well as my fiance, just it's kind of like that big group to be able to help me stay level as I can through the ups and downs and failures and successes throughout a season.
Hold up. Check it out.
Sports and Local.
With Mardi Gras 2025's number one bead collector, Ethan.
Victor Scott's pretty pumped about being associated with that. That clip from the Lou Sports Talk. When Ethan's podcast, which you can get on Spotify, the Lou Sports Talk. Tell us about that.
When I asked you to play the audio first, that's exactly how I expected it going.
You're in charge,
random
man.
generator chose that one today. All right.
It's not like it could have been like. It's not like it was going to get much better though.
No, but that one is deliberate.
You had a conversation with Victor Scott II on the Lou Sports Talk, your podcast, where you talk about things in a little more of an expansive realm than Ethan Sports and Local. Talk to us about your podcast.
Yeah, so had the opportunity to get connected with Victor Scott II back in January. I emceed a Fellowship of Christian Athletes event where he was the guest speaker, got to just talk a little bit about baseball, about his faith, his family, kind of what makes Victor Scott tick. And it was obviously very cool to be able to do that. There was also a lot of behind-the-scenes time when we were just kind of waiting for our turn to go on stage and just got to know him a little bit more, pick his baseball brain a little bit, and he agreed that he would come to on the podcast sometime. So we finally were able to make that happen, and a lot of fun getting to sit down, chat with him last night. We're able to get to know him and the St. Louis Cardinals clubhouse a little bit. He certainly ratted out a couple of his teammates with some funny details.
Love it.
He was all over Jordan Walker last night.
Jaywalk, as I understand his nickname is.
Talked a little bit about just there's no hiding the fact that things are a little bit different this year, but the team is motivated. They have a chip on their shoulder, and they're ready to prove some people wrong. So just about the preparation going into a new season, how he's defining success for himself. Talked a little bit about Ollie Marmol's contract extension and just how much he has meant to Victor in his couple of seasons at the major league level as Vic continues to develop as a professional baseball player. So that and a lot more. Really enjoyed talking with Victor Scott II, and you can go and check that out on our Spotify or Apple Podcast page, The Lou Sports Talk, or you can go to STL Sports Central's YouTube channel, and under the videos tab, it's one of the first videos. We also have our own video folder in there, a playlist folder, so you can go check out all of our past podcasts for the Lou Sports Talk podcast.
Cool.
Yes. Very
And that's
fun
it for Ethan Sports and
stuff.
Local.
Thank you very much for
All
coming
right,
in.
what else do you got today?
There's actually some really big St. Louis news, not your typical, Cardinals, Blues, St. Louis City news, but this is actually for Maryville University's men's hockey program. They are moving to NCAA Division I starting in 2027-28. This just got announced a couple of days ago, but then they just had their ceremony today for it. So St. Louis is now adding another NCAA Division I team to the region. Lindenwood is the other team, and this is a big deal. You think of NCAA for basketball, for football, there's a lot of teams in the Division I ranks. There's well over 100 in both. It's different for hockey. There's only between 60 and 70 NCAA hockey programs right now. It's a sport that's continuing to develop at that level. So St. Louis getting a second program in the community is going to be really good for the area. It's going to be interesting to see how that continues to grow. They built a multi-million-dollar facility in the past several years out there in the Chesterfield area. It's a beautiful facility where they've been playing their games at the club level. And it's going to be fun to see them facing off against, some really solid hockey teams in the next couple of years. So big news for St. Louis hockey. Continuing on, college basketball, the Illini finally righted the ship last night. Annie, big win over Oregon.
I opted out of watching that game because I got the two little girls in bed and we watched Wonka to put them asleep.
Oh, how sweet.
They watched it on delay also, and so I was laying upstairs with them while they were falling asleep. And apparently there were some sweet dunks at the end. And I don't know if you have the story, but there was a walk-on senior that got to play. Did you see that?
Yes.
He got to play, and he scored 5 points, which at senior night, to be a walk-on, and that's the only points he's ever scored, was a pretty exciting thing.
Yes.
There was hooting and hollering downstairs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is this game close? And I would look at my score. I was kind of following it along, but they were watching it on delay, like I said, so I knew what the end was. I'm like, they're just cheering. There had to be dunks or something like that. But apparently this senior guy got to walk on the team and to score 5 points on senior night. Like, what? Talk about peak.
Yeah, that is for a lot of those guys, the Illini are obviously very talented this year. They're going to have, probably a couple of players, at least a couple, play in the NBA. They're going to have some probably play professionally overseas. For that guy, I'm blanking on his name right now, but for him, that's the memory that will live on, that he'll be able to tell his kids about someday. So very cool. Illinois, senior night, as you mentioned, Annie, 14-3 record at home this year, 23-7 overall, and they are on the road on Sunday facing off against the Maryland Terrapins. Quick, Ryan, what's a terrapin?
Is the front facade of a house made to look Irish in nature. Typically, though, found in New England.
Wow. That is an impressive wrong answer. But
Have you ever played Boulder Dash?
I have.
Are you?
I invented that game.
You got to add the word ancient into it when you
ancient.
No, ancient's not a word, so that would not be the right way to do it. But you got to put ancient in front of whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Or ancient Irish.
Played out with
storefront?
some good folks.
Ryan is currently on Facebook Marketplace, and he was reading the description for.
No, I was not. That is not true. That is not true.
That's what Ryan was doing.
I am scrolling Marketplace, but I did not read that.
Kind of sounds like you did.
I didn't. I just made that up.
Oh, geez.
Because that's what a terrapin is. I made it up because that's what it is.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
I appreciate that. Finishing up college basketball news, Mizzou got steamrolled last night by Oklahoma. Bad loss, 80-64 the final. Mizzou is...
That's a cool name for a team, the Oklahoma Bad Loss.
Nope. They're the Sooners. It's fine.
LAWS?
They had a great chance last night to really cement that they are an NCAA tournament team. They have a very good chance of still making it, but that was not helpful last night, losing to the 16-14 bad loss Oklahoma team.
Not helpful.
Not at all.
No.
Anything else to say on that, Ryan?
Not just bad laws. I can't decide whether that's 2 words or not, though.
Got it. The Oklahoma bad loss. The Missouri House is expected to be voting here pretty soon on legislation that would eliminate most vehicle safety inspections. Currently, the Show Me State requires inspections on vehicles that are older than 10 years or those that have more than 150,000 miles. The amended version of House Bill 1838 would remove the inspection mandate on the majority of vehicles. I know Illinois requires them because I have to go and get one done here pretty soon.
Not like Missouri does.
No, not the same?
No.
How is it different?
Illinois does a smog test, but there's no vehicle inspection in Illinois. You don't have to get a sticker or anything like that like Missouri does.
You don't have to get a sticker for your tag?
Yes, you do.
You get a
You're
tag
talking about a
sticker.
different kind of
There's
sticker.
it's a
A license
sticker.
plate sticker that indicates that you've renewed your plates.
See, I've lived in Missouri now for several years, but all my tags and everything are still Illinois, so I'm not familiar with that process.
Come back to
at
Illinois.
all.
Go popping tags.
Yeah, save some money.
The bill does offer 2 exceptions, including salvage vehicles that have been rebuilt, as well as vehicles that have been determined unsafe by law enforcement. Recently, Mayor Kara Spencer called on Missouri lawmakers to reject legislation that would take state taxpayers off the financial hook for misconduct lawsuits involving St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department. Speaking at a Senate committee hearing in the Capitol, Spencer said a bill requiring the city to bankroll police department litigation costs could hurt a slew of other city services at a time when the state has taken control of the police department. The legislation and an identical version pending in the House are part of the fallout from Governor Kehoe's successful push last year to strip the mayor and aldermen from oversight of the city's police department.
Thank you.
We don't want to interrupt you.
Yeah, we've learned our lesson.
Really?
We're trying to listen
One more
than
story?
speak.
What's your lesson, Ryan?
That you demand attention.
I
And
think
when
that
somebody takes it from you, you get angry.
I think that's you.
Ryan.
What?
Shush. This is Ethan's time.
I agree.
4 employees at the newly unionized Build-A-Bear workshop store near Union Station have been terminated, and 1 supervisor has been dismissed in the weeks following a successful union election.
When we get to the 6th story, do you see what we cover?
There was a coup at Build-A-Bear?
The firings came shortly
It was
after
a coochie.
workers at the St. Louis store voted to unionize, forming the first union
There's
at a
nothing that I
Build-A-Bear
want more
retail location.
when I'm going to pick up Molly's Build-A-Bear than union workers on a picket line.
I always ask when I walk in, you guys part of Build-A-Bear 103?
Yeah, because I won't shop anywhere else.
Right.
The stations are unionized. Like if you're doing stuffing, you can't pick out the hat.
No, yeah, that's not my territory.
That's not. No, you
that's
gotta
the
get
heart
that-
guy.
Yeah.
You want a
Everybody's
beating heart?
on break. Sorry. That's never mind. I'm just going to get worse. I'm just going to make more people mad. I love the truckers, though. The legal ones.
Why don't you just hit her head on the microphone? That's what that sound was. That's not me.
Ethan, anything else for the
Anything else on
the
that
masses
story?
and the asses.
I'd love to hear some Jonas Brothers.
All right, we'll do something else next. You got to stick around for that, right? Don't go away.
100 years. That's how long Overhead Door Company of St. Louis has been repairing and replacing garage doors. A century of trust in St. Louis. Always look for the iconic red ribbon of Overhead Door Company of St. Louis for same-day repair service and no extra charge for evening or Saturday service. Trust your friends at Overhead Door Company of St. Louis. Schedule online at overheaddoorstlouis.com. That's overheaddoorstlouis.com.
Start your summer early at the St. Charles Boat Show, March 5th through 8th at the St. Charles Convention Center. The top marine dealers from the Lake of the Ozarks will be on site with the newest boats, personal watercraft, docks, and accessories. Step aboard, compare models, and find the perfect ride for your family. Special show pricing and experts ready to help make your boating dreams a reality. Visit lakeoftheozarksboatdealers.com for more information.
What's up, world? It's Von Miller, Super Bowl MVP, chicken farmer, and now host of Free Range. This is a show where I go off the field and off the script. We're talking what's hot in music, film, trending news, and everything blowing up your feed. If you love football, you'll feel at home. But if you're here for the vibes, the internet deep dives, the conversation, this is your podcast. Join me every Wednesday. Follow and listen to Free Range with me, Von Miller, everywhere you get your podcasts.
All right, I'm going to just say right now you should text us 314-241-9797 on this topic. Are you engaged in your state's primary? Because we've got some great text in the last 20 minutes. So basically during Ethan Sports and Local, you guys have lit up the text line because we were just talking about it in the segment before that. So if you want to get involved in this conversation, 314-241-9797 about your state's primary. It is 2:37. This time check is sponsored by Jerry Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning.
It's time for a $98 furnace tune-up.
It's time for you to get to know my friends at Lit Cigar Lounge in Chesterfield, where luxury meets comfort. Mark Cox here. They have a great selection of rare bourbons, whiskeys, craft cocktails, anything you like to drink, cold beer, premium hand-rolled cigars from the finest makers in the world, even private lockers that are available if you choose to. Perfect for date nights or business meetings, and live music every Friday night. Family owned and operated. Check them out in Chesterfield at the District. It's litstl.com.
This is an important message for anyone struggling with $10,000 or more in credit card debt, medical bills, or personal loans. Due to ongoing inflation, job loss, and the rising cost of living, many Americans are facing overwhelming credit card balances. If you're drowning in credit card debt, you may qualify for powerful debt relief options currently being offered by National Debt Relief that can significantly reduce what you owe. You don't have to declare bankruptcy or take out a debt consolidation loan. You could qualify for this debt relief option and only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe. Act now to see if you qualify. With thousands of 5-star reviews online and an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, National Debt Relief has helped over 1 million consumers with their debt that qualified for this relief option. So don't wait. Call the Debt Reduction Hotline now. Dial 800-428-5757. 800-428-5757. That's 800-428-5757.
Where common sense rules the mic. 97.1 FM Talk. St. Louis Conservative.
Where common sense rules the mic. Let's go to the text line, 314-241-9797. The question, are you engaged in your state's primary, yes or no? Who wrote that promo, Where Common Sense Rules the Mic?
Either me or one of the bosses. I don't know. We're all so common sense it could have been any of us.
If you had the bet on it, who wrote that one?
Steve.
Steve?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, let's go to the people.
Okay. Now, this text came in a bit ago. It is one that said, not voting in the primary because all they do is lie and tell you what to think and what you want to hear. They do nothing.
I criticized that a little bit earlier.
You did. You criticized that. And I think that same person, so I think it's the same number. I don't know who you are, but I can see the phone number just because it's a text line. came back and said, "Who do you think you are? And what gives you the right to call me or anyone stupid because they don't agree with your opinion? You still didn't change my mind, and FYI, I am a Republican, and I will vote when I want. You're no better than anyone else just because they don't agree with you. Keep your opinion to yourself. You don't even know me."
What was the line where common sense
Rules the mic.
I'm sorry, I got to sit this one out.
You sure?
I'm supposed to keep my opinion to myself?
You're supposed to keep your opinion to yourself on the Annie Fry Show.
But you're allowed to share your opinion to the Annie Fry Show without fear of criticism.
And
your
have
opinion.
it be read on the air. Can I share my opinion like on the Mark Cox Show? He'll let me. He's a nice
You're going to
guy.
have to talk to Mark and Kim about that.
Yeah.
And you can talk to Brad. You might be able to share your opinion on this show.
He does turn my mic off if I get out of line. Do I don't know. Do I respond to that or
I don't know. Now there are other people who responded to your response as well. Do you want me to read those?
Well,
and they responded to
I'm
him.
kind of done with my opinions. We'll just go to Quick Rick here. He said if Annie Fry, don't know who she is, left opinion out of her content, there'd be no show. And then Dale says it's an opinion show. You. Next question.
And here's a couple comments in response to your original opinion.
Can I
interject?
Qualify one thing?
Yes.
Brad?
Yeah. Proceed.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Proceed.
I said yes, but it's up to Brad.
I'll have the dump button ready, but
Yeah, if you don't like what I say.
yeah, I'll just turn you off.
I didn't say you were stupid. I said it's stupid to not vote in the primary because you think all politicians are trash. And I stand by that opinion.
A couple people responded after you had said that. And the first person said, the guy not voting is the reason morons hold office.
But he's not calling him a moron.
No,
He's saying
he
that-
said the guy not voting is the reason morons hold office.
Yeah.
And then another one says, I'm very excited to vote because I'm not a weak sissy boy afraid to make a decision. I didn't know. I'm just saying this is the text line.
Oh boy.
Okay. Let me level with Mr. Republican texter who is not happy that I said that it's stupid to not show up in a primary. I will rescind. I don't know if I said stupid, but I believe it. So if you roll the tape and it was like, oh, there it is, I wouldn't be completely shocked. Let me apologize for using the word stupid. And let me rephrase and say, if you are not super inspired by a candidate in the primary, that has nothing to do with the fact that those are the people who have walked around, who've gotten the signatures to be on the ballot, who are working hard to raise the money to be the person who has the opportunity to represent you better than the alternative. And if you think that sitting out any of this in time and treasure and in your vote is going, like, if you feel very comfortable and cozy in just being a get off my lawn curmudgeon because Illinois is this much of a dumpster fire, it's just a really sad place to be because that is a place of complete and total hopelessness. And I'm not willing to be that person. I think Darren Bailey, he was the nominee last year. I think that he would be an incredibly huge improvement over J.B. Pritzker. Ted Dabrowski is a new face, and he has the policies and the research and the decades-long understanding of how to fix problems very specific to the ones that Illinois has. He knows the numbers inside and out. I love what Ted Dabrowski is bringing to the table. There are other people who are running in that governor race. They're all better than J.B. Pritzker. I would vote for the texter who won't show up to vote because he says he's a Republican. If he got the nomination, I would spend the time to go to the courthouse, to go to my polling place on March 17th, and I'd vote for you. We cannot be absolutists. We cannot be purists, especially in the state of Illinois. Missouri, you folks have a little bit of a different problem. You get to choose the flavor of Republican that you want to have in Missouri because you just have a healthy helping of common sense that we don't have in the state of Illinois, do a lot to corruption. I don't even think it's really necessarily the way of the mentality of the electorate in the state of Illinois. We don't have the benefit in Illinois to be picky about who it is that we want to challenge socialists and elitists who want to take this state and use it as their little political playground as a stepping stone to something else, like the presidency. And I'm not talking about J.B. Pritzker. I'm talking about the last president that we had from the state of Illinois, who used Illinois as a stepping stone to get into the presidency. It's not a healthy endeavor. It is a hopeless endeavor to take your ball and go home and say, they all are terrible. They're not all terrible. I know these people in person. They aren't all terrible people. In fact, I'd say a lot of them are pretty good people who maybe weren't politicians, so maybe they don't do it 100% great out the gate. But do you want a slick willy politician, or do you want a really great person who knows this stuff, who's willing to take a stab at it in what is likely, in some of these races? I don't think the governor's race is hopeless at all. You get a say right now. And in a primary, so few people vote because they have that mentality that if you do decide to show up to vote, your vote is going to carry an enormous amount of weight in picking who gets to go up against J.B. Pritzker. And I'm sure that didn't convince you. I'm sorry if you felt I called you stupid, because that's not what I was intending to do. But I think sitting out and not participating is a fruitless effort and hopelessness. And I'm not interested in that. And I would like for other people to not be as well.
This text says, I am not engaged, although I know probably I should be, to be honest. I don't really care because I'm here to support my family. I'm going to adjust, though, and do whatever it takes. So that is one text.
I think one of the reasons I wanted to ask this question, if you're engaged in your state's primary, is because for both Missouri and Illinois, there's still time. There's still time to inform yourself. Even if the endeavor of engagement is, I'm going to learn about these candidates and I'm going to show up and pick somebody. You don't have to talk to anybody about it, but just do something.
How about this one? Says, I've invested a bit of time in person hearing what Ted Dabrowski wants to do by getting Pritzker out. Ted makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
From the text line.
314-241-9797 if you want to send us some texts as well. We've got the poll up right now. 211 votes so far. Are you engaged in your state's primary? Come vote. Be honest. We'll wrap up with results when we return. Don't go away.
But every tear has been...
The Retirement Advisory Group, you know the names, Thomas Helbig, Bob Kershaw, Tammy Kershaw. These are the people who are electing to protect your retirement. Starts with your phone call right here, 314-993-9494, 314-993-9494. Go online to retirementkey.com. But this is your first step towards a worry-free retirement. You want that key to a worry-free retirement, and it starts with the Retirement Advisory Group. If you're worried about losing your nest egg in a market correction, you never know when those are going to happen. If you're looking very close at retirement, like it's coming up on you quickly here, and you're wondering how long your money is going to last, the Retirement Advisory Group, these are the people who can sit down, have that initial conversation with you at no cost to you. And then you can choose whether you want to have another conversation with them again. Start planning today. Give them a call at 314-993-9494. 314-993-9494. Tell them Annie sent you. They'll be happy to hear that. You can learn everything you need to know about the Retirement Advisory Group online at retirementkey.com. Welcome back to the Annie Fry Show. A few more texts coming in here. Some of them just kind of seem as like a general reflection on the show. 314-241-9797. If you ever want to throw that number in your phone and text us, basically between noon and 3, you can text us whatever you want. And the shorter you keep it, the more likely we'll read it on the air. We do read quite a few of your texts off the air and chuckle, but they aren't always FCC
Some
compliant.
of them can't quite make the air.
But they still make us laugh.
They're funny.
Okay, what do you got?
This one says, give Ryan sugar.
Yeah, it's too late.
I agree.
You got to text us that at like 1 o'clock so that it sets in by the 2 o'clock hour.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love you. This is a different person. I love you, Annie.
Okay,
I love you, Ethan. I love you, Brad.
Oh.
I guess you're okay, Ryan.
Oh, this is a step up for you.
I made it.
Yay.
I made it. I am going to read this one. I'll just take out the cuss word. This is the Annie show, not the Dip blank show. We listen for Annie's opinion. This person got mad at you for gendering him.
What did they say?
They said, please don't gender him.
I wonder if that's serious. You never know.
I actually don't know. I thought it was a joke, but it may not be. Can Annie send her argument for participating in elections to my daughter?
Sure. What's her number?
I guess this person's trying to get their daughter involved.
Let me point out, especially for you folks who have the younger generation that's maybe interested, they're inundated with things on TikTok mostly. We're not on TikTok. I really want to be on TikTok, but we got to figure out the TikTok thing, and it just doesn't seem like it's high on the priority list right now of problems to solve for this administration. But I don't, I've heard people who have come up to me at events and they've said that our show is the connection between their thoughts and beliefs and the generation that they were raising that are in their kind of like 20s, because we aren't as old. There's a nicer way to say it, I guess. I don't know.
How about this one real quick?
Okay.
I think this is serious. I don't think this is sarcasm. It says, we need Biden back. Gas prices are too high. Groceries are too high. Tariffs got shot down.
Tariffs didn't get shot down. Gas prices are lower than when Biden was here. And what was the other one? Groceries?
Groceries are too high.
Groceries are lower than when Biden was in office.
Well, inflation certainly is.
What?
Lower.
Lower. Everything's lower.
Everything's lower. Gas prices are definitively lower.
And they've gone up because of the Iran situation, and they're still lower.
They're still lower than I think all but maybe something like 10 weeks of the Biden presidency. And they were all at the beginning of 21.
The Trump numbers.
Isn't that funny?
It's not really funny.
No, it's not
sad.
funny. Sorry.
Funny's not how I'd explain it. Anymore?
No, I don't think so.
Are you engaged in your state's primary, yes or no, Brad?
Yeah, I am. I'm paying attention to the candidates, trying to figure out who I want to vote for, who I like, especially governor, Senate, all that other fun stuff. But yeah, I'm engaged. I can't not be engaged.
Wait, this just came in. I personally absolutely love the Annie Fry Show because I appreciate hearing the opinions of Annie Fry and the gang on the show.
The gang?
The gang. Yeah, we're the gang of 3.
The gang's all here.
We're all having fun.
Why are you talking like that?
Because that's what gangs do. That's the way gangs talk.
Like old people?
Yeah.
The apple
right.
dumpling gang.
Okay. I think we're going to do this tomorrow. There is a video that I saw. It was like things white people say. And have you seen this?
No.
Okay. Have you seen this, Brad? No. Okay. Don't turn your microphone
No.
on. Now say no. Okay. We're going to do this, and we're going to do it live on the air. Don't research it. Don't look it up. It's so funny.
Okay.
It's so accurate and true. The YouTube live chat poll for today. Are you engaged in your state's primary? 218 votes. 62% of you say yes. Maybe a third of you are in Missouri, and it's just not really time for you to dive headfirst. But in Illinois, remember, the primary is March 17th. You can go vote right now. Voting is open. Get there as soon as you can. Study the candidates. Listen to this show. I think we have Don Tracy on tomorrow? No.
Tuesday.
Okay, Tuesday. We're going to have Don Tracy's running for Senate in the studio with us. We keep having him in so that you guys can learn and make decisions based on what you think is best for you. The Mark Reardon Show next.
Time now for today's Spotlight on Money, sponsored by Ethos.
A little extra